just much more complicated on the back end.
I'm not sure how the evidence that I was sending you guys was hard to verify. I sent you guys screen recordings of us scrolling through the entire chat on mobile. And a lot of the stuff that happens is happening directly within Roblox. Like, for instance, when Roblox refused to ban this predator, we got arrested in Hawaii. And he was literally talking in-game about planning the meetup in real life on Roblox. With all that being said, I wanted to ask someone who's been working with law enforcement and has been doing predator catching since before I was even born. So I decided to take a seat with Chris Hansen to catch some answers.
I'm Chris Hansen. I'm co-founder and correspondent reporter for the True Blue Streaming Crime Network. We do a lot of crime and investigative reporting. Our Takedown series, which exposes predators trying to exploit children online. And we also work on a number of documentaries, including this particular project, exposing the sort of thing that goes on Roblox.
I wanted to ask you about some of the comments that Roblox has specifically stated about like predator catching. One of the main complaints is pretending to be a child. I want to know your answer. It's kind of obvious, but the importance of using decoy accounts to just find different predators.
Well, we couldn't do it without using decoy accounts. In the very beginning, we had an online watchdog group, Perverted Justice, do that work. And now, and for the last several years, it's been members of law enforcement who have posed as children online, merely sitting in one of these areas, and they wait to be approached by somebody who is seeking to exploit children. And then the conversation takes place. It all happens according to the law, and then that gets turned over. Now, I understand that anytime somebody is not with law enforcement, it gives pause to a corporation. It's like, okay, here's this kid. We don't know whether he's following the rules properly. We don't know if he's running this by a lawyer. Maybe you could argue that they just don't want that sort of activity on their platform, but you think they'd be more worried about the activity that you're exposing.
That's what I've been trying to get at this whole time.
Let's worry about that, number one, and then you can have a conversation with young Schlepp. I mean, if I were the CEO of Roblox, I would make you an ambassador for security. I would get out in front of this thing and do what would be a fantastic promotional move. I'm a little dumbfounded that they haven't figured it out, given that these guys are in the high-tech world who invented this stuff in some ways. Why don't they get ahead of it and get a young guy on their team? That's what I'm doing with you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that hard to figure out. I learned a long time ago that if you're not listening to the youngest guy or girl in the room, you're missing opportunity. You have to evolve, and you have to keep on top of this technology, and you have to bring new ideas into the room to do your job. My job is to expose bad people. You are helping.
I mean, the thing is, I've made it very, very clear to Roblox since the beginning. Give us a private line. We are open to communicate with you. We want to talk with you guys. We know a lot of these really bad actors, and the first official contact I had with them was the cease and desist letter.
It's horrible from a public image standpoint. I mean, you're killing the messenger, right? It's not like you're out there tracking these guys down with, tasers and smoke guns. I mean, you're providing information to the platform to do something about it.
One of the major complaints that Roblox had about me was that I was actually going to law enforcement first before sending their report, just so that they would have a start to finish conversation of everything that took place. Did you guys ever reach out to social media sites before this sting goes down?
No, we always go to law enforcement. We work with law enforcement in everything we do. And that is to ensure a successful prosecution. That's why the prosecution rate in these states is, like 99.1%. It's law enforcement first, then they can deal with the corporation. The corporation should be more concerned about reporting what it finds to law enforcement to investigate.
I'm going to read to you a quote from Roblox's corporate blog describing our operations. Similar to actual predators, they often impersonate actively approach users and then try to lead them onto different platforms to have explicit conversations. We obviously do not talk to these predators. We don't impersonate real children. Our decoys are, adults.
Well, I think if they're mischaracterizing what you're doing, that's wrong. Based upon what you've said to me, you don't actively bait these guys in terms of making the first approach. You merely set up a profile as somebody who's underage, and you exist in that room until an adult approaches one of your decoys. Then if conversation takes place, they get exposed, and that information gets turned over to law enforcement. And in many cases, they do something, and then you report that both on your platform as a citizen journalist, a young guy working on these stories, and to Roblox to take action as a corporate citizen.
I thought it was kind of wild how they compared what we're doing to actual predators.
Well, if they're mischaracterizing what you're doing, yeah, that's horrible. This entire project is going to be healthy for Roblox, and it's going to be especially good for users of Roblox, because anything that creates awareness and a dialogue is important. And you need to tell parents that this stuff exists, that these dangers are out there, and that if your child is approached by a predator, they need to come to the parents. I mean, that's the first line of defense. It's great what you're doing. It's great what I do. And it's really great that law enforcement and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children does all this work every day across the country. It's great that Roblox has a department that takes a look at some of this stuff. What's not great is the lack of connection here that could make it even better and safer. Until that happens, we have to show parents what goes on here, and they have to have the discussion with kids and say, hey, be careful.
What made you interested into getting into Roblox?
I was personally getting communications on social media saying, you need to look into this, you need to look into this, you need to look into this. And then we saw a big case down in Florida where a guy was arrested in Central Florida for and actually giving them Robux and having them exploit siblings and other. It made headlines down in Marion County, Florida. And so I started digging into it. We had good contacts with that sheriff's department there. And we actually, ironically, just did a predator sting, a takedown sting down there. So we started with an interview there. And it turns out that in the same jurisdiction, there was a 10-year-old girl who was exploited on Roblox by a man all the way over in England. And so we interviewed that victim's mother, and all of a sudden all these cases started developing, including the lawsuit by the Attorney General in Louisiana.
It's interesting you mentioned Florida, because we got an arrest there. We got it in Polk County, and it was a guy who possessed.
Polk County, as you know, is where Sheriff Grady Judd is, and they're very active in this space.
Oh, yeah.
We do work with them as well. First of all, it breaks my heart, and I'm so sorry that you had to deal with this as a younger guy on this particular platform. The fact that you were bullied and preyed upon and advantage of, and that it went to the extent it did. It breaks my heart, and this is why we do these investigations. But to see you at your age turn it into a positive and do something about it, I think is incredible and admirable.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
From a guy who's been kicking around doing this for 42 or 43 years now, it's really cool, because when I started on television, I was your age. I was 22 years old. So when I see a young person do this kind of work, it's very impressive to me, because I know what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, it's very crazy when you start looking into this stuff. I mean, it's a rabbit hole. Only gets more disturbing the more you see it.
Well, and since we announced that we're doing this documentary and that you are collaborating, I am overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah. I saw a tweet on Twitter. It got 160,000 likes that you're just even looking into the platform. Because that's the thing. People have known about these issues for so long, but journalists haven't done enough to really look into it. And now it's starting to break into the world where everybody is starting to start to be aware.
Well, now you're seeing more mainstream, outlets cover it. And look, we have the ability to infiltrate this world because we've been doing it for 21 years. First with To Catch a Predator, and for the last 2.5 years at True Blue, our streaming crime network, with Takedown. So we know how to do this and work with law enforcement. Now, a lot of people can go out and do this stuff independently, but here you are, a good example of somebody who has done the work and given it to law enforcement. And that's the key here, because if you expose these guys and make fun of them and do a Borat kind of thing like some other content creators, they often don't face the consequences. They don't have to register as offender. They don't get prosecuted.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, too, a lot of the reason why I have to make this content is because we reach out to Roblox. We give them the emails. We give them all the information. They don't respond until after we publish a video that gets millions of views on YouTube. You know, it makes me concerned because if we're getting that, what are real victims getting?
Look, I understand a little bit Roblox situation here. What they're trying to do is follow the protocol. When they see something, they're mandated to report that to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which then refers it to law enforcement. And that's good, and they should be doing that. But why they wouldn't also take advantage of information given to them, wrapped with a bow around it, as you have done. It's stunning to me that they wouldn't see the opportunity here to be an ally of yours as opposed to somebody who, they're making an example of and saying,
Oh, for sure.
the rules, banning you. I don't understand that. From a corporate citizen aspect, it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. From a public relations standpoint, it doesn't make sense. And from a justice-seeking standpoint, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know, and I hope that during the course of this, that I'll get a chance to sit down with somebody at Roblox. And I have a feeling that's going to happen. But I'm going to be posing all of those questions when that interview takes place.
To young people who look up to you and see predators in online spaces, what is the single most important step that they can take to protect themselves?
I would be hesitant to tell people to conduct their own investigations, but I'm adamant that you got to report this stuff to your local law enforcement agency. You got to report it to the service provider. You got to report it to the platform. Hopefully, between those three things, you get some action. I think 15, 20 years ago, law enforcement would be a little overwhelmed by this and say, if you're in a small town, you go to the police department, say this happened, they say, okay, well, I'm not sure how to investigate it. Well, today, every department has the ability to investigate this stuff, and they are very willing to take these cases on.
It's an absolute honor to have Chris Hansen featured on this channel. Chris Hansen is flying me out soon to actually feature in his Roblox documentary about exploitation. With everything that we've learned so far, one question persists. Why did I get this cease and desist? I'll let this alleged former Roblox employee answer this question for you.
You have to make a decision, right? You keep your players safe, but then it would be less of them on the platform. Or you just let them do what they want to do, and then all the numbers look good, and investors will be happy.
You might just be thinking this is one alleged Roblox employee. Well, Bloomberg is claiming that 8 Roblox employees told a very similar story to this in 2024. Roblox actively forces victims of the platform into arbitration, a tactic so unethical that platforms like Uber and Lyft actually have policies against doing this. The reason they're doing it is even more outrageous. Because this person received so many benefits from using the platform, he cannot now complain that Roblox is trying to prevent him from seeking justice in court for the life-altering harm he suffered. Here's why I personally care so much about this problem.
Who's been offered free Robux to do something that was inappropriate in the game? Or someone has said, I'll give you some free Robux if you come and follow me on Snapchat or TikTok or something like that. Who's had that happen? Okay, loads of you.
I've seen a lot of corruption in big tech, but I've never seen a company harm this many young people at the scale Roblox has. They can say whatever they want about safety or try to discredit me, but the arrests and their response to those arrests speak louder than any PR statement that they could possibly make. This isn't just about moderation. The rot goes all the way up to the CEO, a man whose vision includes adding dating to this platform and defending predatory games like Meep City. It's not even negligence, it's his literal philosophy. The narrative around Roblox needs to change. People have to understand what this platform actually is. Share what's happening, talk about it. Make sure your friends, parents, journalists, and lawmakers know how deep these problems run. Call your congressman and tell him you won't stand by while Roblox puts children in danger. I've been sounding the alarm for over a year as a whistleblower, and Roblox's leadership has tried to silence me. What needs to happen is David Baszucki needs to sit in front of Congress under oath, and he needs to explain why so many people have been abducted and abused on his platform, and why his company is choosing profits over safety. Evidence that the police
with all this drama going on regarding Roblox, they have finally taken a singular step into trying to fix the problem. And of course, it's all because the stock went down 8%. So when that happens, that means they have to do something. And that is the only time they will ever do something, because for years, we have been asking for these bathroom games to be dealt with. And now when you type in bathroom, you don't really see the same games you saw before. You'll actually start to see gross related bathroom games, diarrhea bathroom games, instead of like two people smirking, hugging each other with a toilet in the background. But this hasn't come without a cost. Thanks to Roblox's amazing AI moderation, pretty much any game that has a bathroom in it, even if it's not at all smirking emoji bathroom game, even if it's not that, they still will like shadow ban you. These games aren't deleted, they're shadow banned, and for some reason, one of the victims was, if you remember the myth, the Smiles family. Yes, in the Smiles family household, as this was a house, they naturally there just happened to be a bathroom here, which you see, they had to clear it all out because any game without any context considered, anything that has a bathroom will now be shadow banned. Look, if you type in Smiles household, a fake one comes up. This is like such an AI moderation moment because the AI won't really consider the context of the bathroom. It's not that bathrooms are like this huge problem. It's the reason people make these dedicated bathroom games. I don't know why Roblox just does a sweep without any context. A house will have a bathroom in it. So this is the action required message they got. Update, social hangouts with private spaces, examples being bedrooms or bathrooms anywhere within the experience will be restricted to users 17 and up, which, I mean, sure, we can do without bathrooms, but I feel like there could be some type of context considered. It's not like, I feel like you could hire a few people to then, make the difference on which bathrooms are just a simple tiny piece of a game, and which ones are just trying to make a horrible environment for kids to get kidnapped in. It's really hard to appeal. Obviously, he took the bathroom out of the game because it was such a huge problem. In the email he responds against from his appeal from Alberto, which is me, I actually wrote this to him. I'm trolling him. It's just automated responses. In order to provide you with the best possible assistance, reply to this, but like you just get stuck in dealing with their epic AI moderation. You just get stuck in this loop. I've tried to recover accounts before, and you just you get somewhere and then they give you another automated response. Roblox has a horrible customer support system. The thing is, bathroom games are kind of like they're a thing of the past. They were already fading out of style. The thing is, hug games, like, they still have every single hug game, which is like, these are what the bathroom games were. They all just moved on. Their new keyword is hug. Hugs roleplay, hug fights. Last to stop hugging wins. Legs wrapped around. This is not a hug. Select role client or hug therapist. Like, then Roblox just like, oh, it's the bathroom is what these people are complaining about. Our stock went down. I guess we'll just get rid of the bathroom thing. It's not, we're not just mad that bathrooms exist. Ah! Oh, we're like that too. And now I'm locked in here and I'm being kidnapped and I'm a child. Like, that's kind of Roblox's whole style. They just wait until a problem gets so horrible, then they just nuke everything. Not that I'm like defending bathroom games or anything like that, but just when innocent games like the Smiles household. I mean, I don't even know what I'm typing. You can't even search it up anymore. Here's another game in the Smiles family universe, Dan's Diner, which it's been shadow banned. Jesus, everyone needs to shut the f up. Mute on. Look how much better my life is since muting everybody. No offense to all of you and all that, but like, look, to add immersion, because this is a bar, they had to also take down all those drinks over there. Yeah, there used to be a bathroom in here, and it has been shadow banned. Have fun dealing with their Roblox appeals team. So all these bathroom hangouts, they have to be 17 plus, which still, like, federally is not an adult in America. I don't know why they're like 17, not 18. I don't know who made that decision on Roblox, but they should possibly be investigated on why they chose 7. Like, you know, because Roblox is based in America. You think they'd be like, oh, 18's an adult. But someone on the team was like, how about 17? Whoever made that decision, let them be named publicly. But I heard Roblox, they're thinking about moving that up to 18, which, hey, I think that would be a step in the right direction. Oh my god, Roblox, look what I found! Oh my god! Oh my god, it's get rid of it! Oh my god! See, it's like, that's not the problem. Also, why? So why isn't Beep City completely shadow banned? Like I was saying, Roblox always just waits until a problem is so horrible. They wait until they might see some consequence before taking action. Like when, like years and years ago when Roblox was just allowing anyone to upload any copyrighted song or anything copyrighted. You know, then when they get sued, they say, oh, we're gonna delete every single audio that anyone's ever made, which is very awesome. Roblox, they're not idiots, right? Like, they knew that eventually they would get sued. Why would they not try to, like, June 2021, if that's actually when they got sued, that's, like, so late for them to actually take action on something. Like, they're the leaders of the metaverse, right? They don't have some type of copyright detection tool they could have added before they got sued. That's what I'm saying with this bathroom thing. They're like, oh, well, this bathrooms are a problem. Any game that has even a bathroom in a nothing bad related to it, you're gone. But also, hug games are still loud. I'm not even trying to, like, shift the goalpost. You know, they delete bathroom because it's good. I'm not saying, like, well, what about this? But they're just, the way they're going about it is not sustainable. They're just doing a big wipe of something to hopefully get the stock back up. Or at least allegedly, that's what I assume they're doing. Because why else would they? There's that one bathroom game. I'll find footage of this, but there's that one bathroom game where they just had beds all around the pool. Like, how did that stay up for years? Like, clearly they do not care in the slightest. It's just, if this goes down even 1%, they have a panic attack. Roblox will only ever address something if this number goes down as a consequence to something they did, or maybe something they didn't do, something they didn't do enough of. Whoa. I forgot about my Chaperone character. All right, we're gonna do an inspection on your house, all right? If you have a bathroom, we're doxing you and then killing you, all right? Let me in now. Inspection time. You're out of here. Sorry, I had to let myself in real quick. What's that? Shadowban Brookhaven, look what I just saw! I need to cover this up. Don't look in here, guys. It's horrible. See how ridiculous that would be to shadow ban this entire game over this? But, I mean, that's their policy. This needs to be a 17 and up game. I'm horrified by what I've seen. Oh, and don't forget, they said bathrooms and bedrooms. So if oh, look. They're trying to hide the evidence. Brookhaven is trying to hide the evidence. They're so guilty. Hey, Brookhaven, you're so screwed. I'm gonna find you, all right? Oh, she tried to block me. I still see it in there. Why isn't this game being shadow banned, Roblox? Once this video comes out, your stock is going to go into the negatives because they see what you did. Yeah, it's not just like the Smiles family that this has been happening to. There's other examples too. This is just so near and dear to my heart that you know, I just want to talk about it because, you know, Roblox, when they do things sloppy, they don't do it right. And I feel like that's what gets them in a lot of trouble is they always choose the sloppy route where they're a zillion-dollar company. They can afford to hire so many people. Like, maybe let's wait for your cutting-edge AI moderation to advance a little bit before we start relying on it so heavily. And don't worry, I'm not becoming a drama channel or anything. I just think this was a good follow-up to do because they're trying, well, I don't know if they're trying to do something, but let's try to make positive changes possibly even before the stock has a chance to go down. Maybe before we get sued. Let's try to make those changes beforehand. And I'm the smartest person in the world, so I don't expect Roblox to think of that straight off the bat, but it's a cool idea I just gave to them. All right, guys, I just got fully deplatformed by Roblox for, as you can see, no reason. They have no reason. They have no evidence of anything I've done. And I'm not the only YouTuber this has happened to this week. No, but a lot of you have probably heard about the Schlep situation. No, a lot more so than just a warning for trying to give kids nightmares. Schlep would now be the second YouTuber, from my knowledge, to get a cease and desist from Roblox, meaning he can never access the platform again. It's extremely interesting reason why. So he does a lot of the like predator catching videos. It's like Roblox predator goes to jail. Like, he catches these guys, he finds them through like Roblox related Discord channels and then catches them in real life. He travels all over the country to do these types of things, these sting operations. So for making these videos, he has received not a thank you for Roblox, not a hey, thanks for helping us with our moderation issues. He received a legal cease and desist notice from Roblox Corporation. Meaning if he accesses the platform ever again, if he types in Roblox.com, he will probably be sued for everything he has. Within that cease and desist, they said, while Roblox acknowledges that your stated intentions may be to protect children, and while it recognizes the serious nature of online predatory behavior, your methods, including failing to immediately report suspicious activity to Roblox through proper channels, are actively interfering with Roblox's established safety protocols and critically are exposing Roblox users to increased risk. So Roblox is trying to say, you're making the problem worse by getting these people in jail. And the thing is, Schlep will immediately report these guys to Roblox with evidence of like off-platform behavior, on-platform behavior, and they typically will not ban anybody until his video goes up and he shows their username, of course, and then it's usually, until then, Roblox will then ban him, you know, after the video gets maybe 1 million views, maybe a zillion views, but not ever through the report system, not ever through emailing Roblox about the certain user. I imagine they'll say, yeah, maybe you should block this person if you don't like what they're doing to you, allegedly. He's not only, you know, reporting them, emailing them with evidence, he is reporting them to the police. What more proper channel than the cops? Accordingly, and pursuant to Roblox's policies, Roblox will be closing your accounts. Please note that the Roblox community standards prohibit opening new accounts to evade an enforcement action. Therefore, we demand that you cease and desist from accessing the Roblox platform. Roblox reserves all the rights to take any and all appropriate legal action against you should your violations of the Roblox community standards continue, which really creates some type of gray area. So maybe let's say I saw some very suspicious behavior in one of these hug games. You know, who would have, but I mean, a suspicious behavior in a hug game, surely never, right? If I reported this to Roblox and, you know, maybe got this person arrested through, you know, my own means and then posted about it, I would be in breach of Roblox's brand new rule. Yep, we got a new rule. They, after they sent Schlep the cease and desist, they made a new rule. Schlep broke the rule that didn't exist yet, which is a rule against vigilante groups, which is individuals or groups who take it upon themselves to enforce laws or punish wrongdoers without legal authority. If you look at Schlep's show, there's a lot of legal authority over here. All the proper channels. So framing it as a vigilante group really undermines what he's doing. I mean, like I said, they keep talking about you need to report it through the proper channels, and he did all that. He did all that many times. I think it's just, I mean, it's literally just because if you type in Roblox and you see these videos, that's bad publicity for Roblox. I mean, this is all my opinion. I think Roblox just did this because they wanted to try to get the Roblox word out of these predator catching video titles, and they thought this was the best way to do it, basically being like, hey, we'll sue you if you get one of these guys arrested and post about it. Yeah, which has really shot themselves in the foot, because a lot of videos on this, like big videos from some of the biggest YouTubers ever. You know, it's just a matter of time. Like, obviously, this really doesn't affect Roblox too much until actual news outlets pick up on this, you know, because parents aren't watching Penguin zero, or at least I hope they're not. Parents aren't watching Flamingo, which I hope they are. I mean, not only is it really scary that Roblox is just willing to kind of sue YouTubers over this kind of stuff, but it's also just such a horrible look for anyone who plays Roblox, anyone who's a developer on Roblox, anyone who's a Roblox YouTuber. Saying that you play Roblox as a 40-year-old man already isn't a good look. And then when you hear, oh, Roblox actually bans you, Roblox sues you if you catch any bad actors, let's call them. This is all coming from Roblox's chief safety officer. I didn't know Roblox had one of those. I didn't know they cared about that type of thing. Every day, more than 100 million users of all ages have a safe and positive experience on Roblox. Every day, 100 million people all show up to Public Bathroom Simulator and have a safe, all ages experience. Believe it or not. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I know I think there's a couple other games that aren't bathroom games. And this is my favorite part. We continually innovate our extensive safety systems, which combine a cutting-edge AI moderation. You should be admitting to, I mean, let me show you how cutting edge it is. Literally, the other day, offensive item, your turn, go, offensive item. You can't say that. It's spam. This is how good the AI moderation is. I was kind of joking when I said Roblox uses AI moderation, so that's really nice knowing that every time I get some type of warning for saying hola, it's the power of AI. You know, in some of this, it might have been understandable on Roblox's end if Schlepp was doing things like, I don't know if you've seen any of these other catch type videos, but like Vitaly ZDTV where
your boyfriend is a dork.
Where he just gives the guy a little pub concert, which could be worse than prison. You know, while this clip is very funny, this is not a way to deal with this type of thing. Or maybe he'll, like, get someone to shave his head and then bring him on his way. You know, Schlepp takes all... He doesn't entrap anyone. He doesn't physically harm anyone. They meet up with him and talk to him until, like, they kind of just call the cops, and when the cops come, they go to jail sometimes. Which is, like, the opposite... Like, that's like, what Roblox is accusing them of entrapping users. Nobody is being entrapped. That would be illegal. It's just such a horrible look when the chief safety officer of Roblox is saying, we're gonna kill you if you touch one of these guys, you know? You know, and at the end of this section with, instead of taking matters into their own hands, we encourage the community to report any inappropriate behavior directly to Roblox or law enforcement. Obviously, I've said this 10 times, but both reporting to Roblox and law enforcement was done by Schlepp and team. I know that met up with them, but that's all off-platform. Roblox is so big on being like, oh, if something happens off-platform, we can't do anything about it. As soon as Schlepp catches people off-platform, it's billion-dollar company potentially suing him if he doesn't. Also, just unrelated, I would be so insanely depressed if my OG Roblox accounts were banned. Like, I have been on Roblox since early 2008, and I treasure these things so much. I've spent so much of my time on this platform, and I just have so much nostalgia. I just can't imagine, as pathetic as it sounds for someone who's 45 years old, losing these things would break my heart very, very badly. Jared Valdez has chimed in, if you remember him. He was suing Roblox, or trying to sue Roblox recently, but I guess not anymore. He calls for the removal of David as CEO, so Jared Valdez can be the CEO, which I'll throw a like on that, right? I wish they would say what they're really thinking, though. Do they just hate the bad PR? Is that it? I wish they would just say that instead of just kind of, it's like you think I'm stupid or something, which I am, but I think they have really bad media literacy. I don't know what they expected out of this, especially with, as of just like a month or so ago, David was on some random podcast saying that he would love it if people started dating on the platform. Of course, age appropriate, but you can't say those types of things when you have all these bad problems. It's just horrible. It's just bad PR everywhere. This article from PC Mag, why did Roblox ban a popular YouTuber who wants Predators, they reached out to Roblox and they replied, kind of. They didn't address Schlepp directly, but they said it's important to speak with the right sources to really understand how vigilante individuals and groups operate, saying they're violating policies around sharing personal identifiable information, all while having a profit motive to evade detection. There's nothing like a publicly traded billion-dollar corporation like Roblox saying someone else has a profit motive. Roblox is not allowed to make a decision without having a profit motive. Roblox's entire existence is a profit motive. What are you talking about? Sorry, this isn't like a fun, this isn't a very fun video or anything, but I think it's really important to talk about. This is a huge thing right now, and this is probably the worst Roblox has ever looked in the public eye ever. And just, it's very scary when billion-dollar companies start threatening to sue people. That is very horrifying that you can just kind of have everything taken from you when you were having good intentions in the first place by trying to, protect kids. Hey, go show some support to Schlepp in this trying time. All right, webcam update time. Anytime you see me on this webcam, that means things got worse. And pretty much, without getting too much into Roblox's response, they have tripled down. They are they haven't walked anything back. They are so certain on their position. Every time Roblox opens up their mouths, it makes everything worse. Like, they dig themselves into a way deeper hole. There has been petitions which you can sign from congressmen, requesting more transparency from Roblox regarding child safety issues. This is Congressman Ro Khanna. Stand with us to protect kids and save Roblox. Louisiana, the state Louisiana attorney has initiated legal action against Roblox, claiming the platform has not sufficiently protected young users. So multiple people in the government even got a Trump alert posting about it for whatever that's worth. Roblox just got banned in the country of Qatar and maybe soon to follow Indonesia. They have asked Roblox to open a local office and comply with child protection regulations. Yeah, honestly, it's pretty depressing to see Roblox's response to all this. Things are going pretty downhill. Roblox has literally ruined their overnight. This is what people know Roblox for. Like, so many parents are just gonna cut their kids off from their favorite game, which if I was a parent, I wouldn't blame them. Yeah, sorry for the very possibly depressing video. It's me. This is pretty epic, though. Threaten to sue YouTuber, get sued by entire state. That's what's going on.
Two sides of it. There's the NSFW side that's for adults, but according to Wayne, minors can be in the safer work chats. Because of course, remember, according to the rules, you can't have any NSFW in the safer work chats. You want to make sure minors are safe, right, Wayne? And then directly cut to me looking at Wayne sending a picture of DMs where it's just a photo of a dude's dog. It ain't even summer yet, and we're still grilling hot dogs out here. And by the way, everyone can go in this voice chat and see this message, even minors. Now, quick side tangent. For some reason, Wayne got free McDonald's from someone, so someone has Wayne's address. I don't know why you would give someone your address for free McDonald's. That's like the worst trade offer I've ever received.
All right, guys, I just got fully
You may have seen this image floating around the internet comparing several of the most popular cartoons of the 2010s and how similar they all look. This image and many others like it are criticisms of the CalArt style, also known more broadly as the Tumblr style, which was hugely popular from around 2012 to 2015. Unlike the sharp, spiky, anime-inspired style of the 2000s, the CalArt style is known for its soft, round look, flowing shapes, noodly limbs, big eyes, and most infamous of all, large round bean-shaped mouths. These bean mouth cartoons became a symbol of a new soulless corporate style, which had all of the rough edges sanded off and all of the complexities dumbed down, simplified, and easy to animate but lacking soul. Even today, googling CalArt style will turn up countless critique videos and ironic cartoons mocking Tumblr snowflakes in their soulless uwu bean mouth art. But I think that the discussion around the CalArt style and the Tumblr style lacks a lot of nuance nuance and context, so today let's take a deep dive into the CalArt style and the debate around it. Before we continue, I just want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for creators to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website and engage with your audience. With Squarespace's intuitive drag and drop editing, beautiful styling options, tons of visual design effects, and a whole library of templates, literally anyone can build an epic custom website to fit their needs. Not only can you sell products, but Squarespace makes it easy to offer services and get paid all in one place. From consultations to events and experiences, you can attract clients and grow your business with Squarespace. And for their extra professional little touch, Squarespace Domains is a great way of giving your site a unique name. Every Squarespace domain comes with advanced privacy and security tools included to ensure that your domain remains online and protected. And Squarespace provides everything you need to bring more of your dream to life, whether that means building a website or adding a professional email service. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/izzies for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. A huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back into things. So this video was originally just one section in a much longer analysis and dissection of internet art styles throughout the years, which I'm still working on, but I got to like page 7 of the CalArts part and was like, you know, this can probably just be its own video. In that original script, I have a whole section on early 2000s art and how that was kind of a precursor to this like 2010s CalArt style that people came to know, but to keep it short and sweet, here's what you need to know. Anime began gaining traction in the West around the 90s to the early 2000s and inspired an entire generation of young internet artists. This, alongside seminal emo works such as Invader Zim and Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, led to very sharp angular styles with detailed rendering and shading becoming popular throughout the decade. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly when the stark shift to cute round art occurred, and obviously there were many artists still drawing in a cutesy round style throughout the 2000s, but I think the shift into the mainstream may have had something to do with Adventure Time. Adventure Time is without a doubt one of the most influential pieces of media of the 2010s, which may sound kind of ridiculous when you look at it, but the show's art style, tone, and humor shaped an entire decade of animation. Adventure Time was one of the first mainstream TV shows to really embrace this kind of surreal, random humor of the 2000s internet, and many jokes and made-up words from the show embedded themselves permanently into internet lexicon. Oh my glob, floop the pig, schmauzow, whacked out poo brain, mathematical. There was at least a solid like 2 to 3 years where you could not escape the Making Bacon Pancake song no matter how hard you tried. And just like the language and humor of the show, its art style was similarly influential. A stark contrast to the more sharp, jagged art styles of the 2000s, Adventure Time's characters were soft and round with curved edges and wiggly, noodly limbs. They were fluid, shifting shape and size to fit the scene, and their expressions were dynamic, ranging from simple dot faces to grotesquely detailed and realistic ones. This more dynamic and expressive yet simple animation style would inspire a whole decade of animation to come. The Amazing World of Gumball in 2011 and Gravity Falls in 2012 would share similar stylistic and tonal traits. Gumball took the random internet-inspired humor of Adventure Time, while Gravity Falls followed the same formula of starting off as a cute, innocent kids show before delving into more dark and dramatic serialized storytelling. Both shared Adventure Time's round art style, goopy noodle limbs, and silly expressions. These shows were all insanely popular and gained huge online followings, but it wasn't until 2013 when Cartoon Network aired their first episode of Steven Universe that this sort of 2010s animation fandom would reach its peak. Steven Universe, like Adventure Time and Gravity Falls, was an episodic kids cartoon that gradually became more serialized with overarching plotlines and character arcs, a trend which continued all throughout the 2010s and is still popular to this day. Steven Universe was Cartoon Network's first show created by a woman and was also the first American kids TV show to prominently feature openly queer characters, including a lesbian couple who was shown kissing on screen and even getting married. The show found a huge fan base on Tumblr, which had a large population of LGBTQ+ users who resonated with the show and its characters and themes. As time went on and fandoms for Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, and other shows grew, more and more artists began adopting these sort of stylistic traits into their own art. Soon, the term term CalArt style kind of vaguely morphed into the more generic term Tumblr style. One of the clearest examples of this sort of gradual shift in style can actually be seen in the Homestuck fandom. And I know you're like writing something right now, stop it. This is literally a video based on Tumblr stuff. Homestuck was gonna come up at some point. When Homestuck first came out around 2009, art within the fandom tended to trend towards a sharper, more edgy style, influenced by the Invader Zim emo comic anime-inspired art of mid-2000s DeviantArt. However, soon many popular Homestuck artists began adopting a softer, more noodly style. Big eyes, bean mouths, long rubbery limbs, a stark contrast to the razor-sharp angular style of the mid to late 2000s. Here are a few examples of Homestuck art from around 2009 to 2012, and then we see a huge shift take place with these pieces from around 2013 to 2016. And Homestuck is just one example of a fandom where this took place. It could be seen in many fandoms as well as original art and OCs. If you weren't in the Tumblr trenches, you may be unfamiliar with Draw Your Squad images, but they were hugely popular during this era. They were basically an evolution of the DeviantArt base, a blank template of characters interacting in some kind of humorous way that artists could take and draw over or redraw with their own OCs or favorite ships or whatever. As a young artist on the internet, I remember seeing these absolutely everywhere. They were insanely popular and they kind of perfectly represent the popular art style of the time. Again, big eyes, bean mouths, goofy, epic, random expressions. The characters in these tended to be a bit more well constructed in terms of realistic proportioned anatomy, but some definitely still had that kind of cutesy, chibi, noodle-limbed look. Big blushy cheeks and noses also became a staple of the Tumblr style. A lot of early internet art used simplified anime-style cheek stripes or basic pink and red dots, but no longer. It started as simple little nose and ear blushes and got increasingly more ridiculous till it was insane full-face flushes of bright pink and red, usually with tons of little shiny marks and hearts and stars. So not only did these characters look like they had a 100-degree fever, but they also looked kinda oily and shiny. I'm allowed to say this, by the way, because I was part of the problem. Here are some of my insanely overblushed art from when I was like 15, bonus points for it being gay Night in the Woods shipping art. Heavy bright blush carried into and became one of the defining stylistic traits of the 2015-2016 YouTube animatic art style. If there was a Hamilton, Heathers, or Be More Chill animatic, you could bet that all of the characters would be blushing like crazy. Again, throwing myself under the bus, here are some screen caps from Heathers and Dear Evan Hansen animatics I made when I was a teenager. Shift take place with these pieces from Tumblr stuff. Homestuck was gonna come up at some point. When Homestuck first came out around 2009, art within the fandom tended to trend towards a sharper, more edgy style, influenced by the Invader Zim emo comic anime-inspired art of mid-2000s DeviantArt. However, soon many popular Homestuck artists began adopting a softer, more noodly style. Big eyes, bean mouths, long rubbery limbs, a stark contrast to the razor-sharp angular style of the mid to late 2000s. Here are a few examples of Homestuck art from around 2009 to 2012, and then we see a huge shift take place with these pieces from around 2013 to 2016. And Homestuck is just one example of a fandom where this took place. It could be seen in many fandoms as well as original art and OCs. If you weren't in the Tumblr trenches, you may be unfamiliar with Draw Your Squad images, but they were hugely popular during this era. They were basically an evolution of the DeviantArt base, a blank template of characters interacting in some kind of humorous way that artists could take and draw over or redraw with their own OCs or favorite ships or whatever. As a young artist on the internet, I remember seeing these absolutely everywhere. They were insanely popular and they kind of perfectly represent the popular art style of the time. Again, big eyes, bean mouths, goofy, epic, random expressions. The characters in these tended to be a bit more well constructed in terms of realistic proportioned anatomy, but some definitely still had that kind of cutesy, chibi, noodle-limbed look. Big blushy cheeks and noses also became a staple of the Tumblr style. A lot of early internet art used simplified anime-style cheek stripes or basic pink and red dots, but no longer. It started as simple little nose and ear blushes and got increasingly more ridiculous till it was insane full-face flushes of bright pink and red, usually with tons of little shiny marks and hearts and stars. So not only did these characters look like they had a 100-degree fever, but they also looked kinda oily and shiny. I'm allowed to say this, by the the way, because I was part of the problem. Here is some of my insanely overblushed art from when I was like 15. Bonus points for it being gay Night in the Woods shipping art. Heavy bright blush carried into and became one of the defining stylistic traits of the 2015-2016 YouTube animatic art style. If there was a Hamilton, Heathers, or Be More Chill animatic, you could bet that all of the characters would be blushing like crazy. Again, throwing myself under the bus, here are some screen caps from Heathers and Dairy Evan Hansen animatics I made when I was a teenager. You'll notice both the round uwu bean Tumblr style and the super prominent blush here. If anyone has any further questions about these, I will not be answering them. I am locking it back in my mind palace. And it wouldn't be a CalArt style video if we didn't talk about the elephant in the room, RCD art. RCD art went viral around 2016 when Twitter and Tumblr users discovered their art and began sharing it en masse, mocking the exaggerated proportions and the fact that their older art seemed to be more technically competent, sparking discussions about art style regression. Their trans Captain America art was particularly controversial, as was their fan art depicting Finn from Star Wars, which straight up looked like a racially insensitive caricature. It was really bad. Also, their Kylo Ren art. No comment needed. Their style was clearly very heavily influenced by Steven Universe and the art of Rebecca Sugar, from the smooth flowing lines to the exaggerated body shapes to the fact that they also just happened to do tons of Steven Universe fan art. RCD Art's art was dunked on so hard that they ended up deleting all of their social media and disappearing off the face of the internet. Despite this, the buzz around their artwork reawakened the dying CalArt style discussion and bolstered it even further, as they did indeed attend CalArts themselves. Even today, these pieces of art are often used to mock Tumblr artists and Tumblr as a whole, as well as the CalArt style. There are a couple of other pretty infamous examples of the Tumblr style, including Miss Officer and Mr. Truffles. Miss Officer and Mr. Truffles was a failed Kickstarter for an animated TV show based on a Tumblr post about a bear and a cop. The project was marred with controversy and drama and came under scrutiny for its $80,000 goal for a 7-minute pilot pitch. The show's art style was very much in line with what was popular on Tumblr at the time, with a cutesy round style, big eyes, and blushy noses. Art of Miss Officer and Mr. Truffles is sometimes used in memes criticizing the CalArts Tumblr style and wider Tumblr culture. And then of course you have the bisexual furry drug dealer Miku Binder Thomas Jefferson. This image is immortalized in the Tumblr Hall of Fame for good reason. This art was more from like the 2015-2016 YouTube animatic era than the early 2010s CalArt style era, but you can see the influence is still very much there. The lore runs so deep with all of these that I could honestly go on forever, but look, this isn't meant to be like a call out. It's coming up on like 10 years since this whole era ended, and these artists have probably hopefully matured and moved on and grown. Also, if I called anyone out, I would be a huge hypocrite. That one body shape style tutorial I made at like age 14 goes viral all the time, and I've just accepted that I will never know peace. It's gonna haunt me forever. This is my karmic punishment for drawing Dookie. I've accepted it. Much like the CalArt style that it was born from, the Tumblr style was criticized as lazy and lacking creativity and character. It was called technically incompetent, ugly, and again was often mocked for being too queer and too woke. Except, you know, they didn't use quite those words. Critics, who usually came from sites like Twitter, Reddit, and 4chan, often depicted Tumblr artists using gross, poorly drawn caricatures and made their own Tumblr characters with blue hair and pronouns and like 20,000 pride flags, you know, just to really drive the point home. But in the absolute storm of discourse that formed around the Tumblr and CalArt style, its impact on modern animation and art, and how all of that relates to wokeness, something got lost. The actual criticism itself. So what does CalArt style mean, really? The term CalArt style was actually coined all the way back in 2010 by all-around terrible guy John Kricfalusi, who used it to describe a generic art style derived from 1950s and 60s Disney movies. He claimed that students at CalArts were being taught superficial stylistic traits from classic Disney movies, and rather than studying from life or the masters, students were simply taught to copy pre-existing Disney movies as well as each other, leading to the style getting more and more stale stale over time. He pointed to several examples from Disney movies where the same mouth shapes and body constructions were reused, leading to less originality with each iteration. Over the next few years, the meaning of CalArt style changed drastically, shifting from a criticism of student animation derived from 50s and 60s Disney classics to a more vague criticism of the simplified round style that was becoming popular during the 2010s. In fact, the examples of stale regurgitated animation from John Kay's original article were often used as examples of the golden age of animation when everything had heart and soul, showing just how divorced from the original meaning the term CalArt style had become. Despite the original article about the CalArt style citing several complex stylistic issues stemming from a lack of real-life and historical references, discussion online about the CalArt style, especially during the height of its popularity, often boiled down to SJW Tumblr snowflakes and their SJW snowflake colleges are trying to make all the kids SJW snowflakes. Criticisms of the style would often throw in snarky remarks about all the characters having to be gay, or using round shapes because angles are scary and offensive, or having to make all the characters get along as to not scare the Tumblrinas or whatever. Steven Universe was often front and center of these discussions, dismissed as a pandering kid show for gay social justice warriors on Tumblr. Its art style was similarly criticized as uwu cute bean Tumblr CalArt slop. And while there are very valid criticisms of this art style and era of animation, it's pretty hard to take these I identify as an attack helicopter-ass criticisms seriously, especially since Rebecca Sugar it didn't even go to CalArts. Yeah, the literal poster child for the CalArt style didn't even go there. She went to the School of Visual Arts in New York. While it's true that many popular cartoons of the 2010s were created by former CalArts students, specific extremely popular shows are not wholly representative of CalArts as a school, nor are they representative of the showrunner's own unique styles. Rebecca Sugar's art looks like this, and this, and this. She created a comic around 2008, Don't Cry For Me, I'm Already Dead, which has a super unique look. Darren Nefsey, creator of Star vs. the Forces of Evil, makes cute cartoons, but also weird, colorful, experimental scribbles. Early concept art for The Amazing World of Gumball is surreal and dynamic and explosive. Skylar Page, creator of Clarence, has posted tons of drawings and paintings online covering a wide range of subjects and art styles. Countless other artists who have attended or currently attend CalArts have wide, varied, and experimental bodies of work covering everything from life drawing to painting to sculpture and crafts. The idea that students are soldiered into CalArts, sat down and forced to draw bean mouths over and over until they perfect the CalArt style is laughable. The huge range of student films coming out of the school every year is evidence enough of the wide variety of styles emerging from their program. And look, to clarify, I don't want to dick ride for CalArts. I've never been, and modern animation programs are infamously controversial these days. There are a lot of people now that are pushing back against them, accusing them of being predatory and overpriced. There's a great video by artist Gabby Caldera explaining their time at CalArts and why they advise against going. I thought it was super interesting, and also I just think they're a really great artist. Personally, my time at art school sucked, but that's because I went to an animation college in New Zealand and expected my SVA CalArts Sheridan dreams to come true, so that's on me. If you live in New Zealand, maybe you know the specific school I'm talking about, if you know, you know. Anyway, tangent aside, artists are going to find their own unique style and voice no matter where they go to school. But one thing that CalArts and many other art schools teach is how to draw in a versatile, marketable way. Animation is an incredibly difficult industry to get a foothold in, and most artists aren't coming out of college straight into a showrunner role. They're bouncing around different productions, working for a few weeks or months at a time, and because of that, they need to be able to adapt their styles to suit whatever studios want to see. As the 2010s began, we saw not only the success of cartoons with very simplistic, rounded art styles, but we also saw design as a whole shift from the techie Y2K Frutiger Arrow era to what's become known as the flat design era. The introduction of Windows 8 and iOS 7, both of which had very clean, sleek, and minimalist flat designs, influenced countless other brands and companies to follow suit. Suddenly, it seemed like every company was changing their bright, iconic, bold logos to instead be streamlined, sleek, and simplified. A huge emphasis emphasis was put on readability. Shapes were pushed to create recognizable silhouettes. Gradients and shadings were removed in favor of strong, solid colors. Everything was refined and cleaned up, with the flat design trend reaching peak popularity and shows like Adventure Time showing studios they could animate simpler, flatter characters with a lot more leeway for how on model they needed to be. It's no wonder that this is what studios wanted to see. In my opinion, and again this is just my opinion and personal take, feel free to disagree, it was animation studios like Cartoon Network, Disney, and Nickelodeon that created demand for the quote-unquote CalArts style. All CalArts and many other schools did was give their students the tools to adapt to what studios wanted to see. Though the CalArts style criticism is very much rooted in 2010s pop culture and internet culture, it's still around today, even though it looks a little different. Today you're more likely to see criticism of the quote-unquote modern animation style using examples like Luca, Turning Red, Win or Lose, and always that one Grubhub commercial. That's such a specifically American thing. Everyone hates that commercial with every fiber of their soul, and meanwhile I don't even know what Grubhub is. I've never seen that ad in my life. While the specific term CalArts style isn't really used anymore and is instead sometimes called the Pixar style, or more generally the modern animation style, these movies and commercial, I guess, all share the same stylistic traits that the CalArts style did. Round, soft shapes, simplified cartoony designs with strong shape language, and of course the infamous bean mouths. Even the recent animated Netflix film K-pop Demon Hunters has come under fire for having a supposedly lazy and generic animation style, and what specific part of the animation is usually pointed out as lazy? The bean mouths. These movies are criticized for the exact same reasons. The style is called soulless, lazy, a copy of a copy of a copy, overly sanitized and cutified until there's no edge left. Even to this day, and perhaps even more now, it's criticized as soft art made by liberal college student snowflakes trying to turn the kids gay. Some things never change, I guess. With that being said, trends tend to come and go every 10 years or so, and we're very much entering a 2000s Renaissance era. The flat design era was recently kind of unanimously decided to be over, as many companies are redesigning, or I guess kind of undesigning, their logos to look how they did in the 90s and 2000s. The grungy, sharp, angular art of the 2000s, inspired by the popularization of anime in the West, early Y2K internet art, and shows like Downtown, Daria, Motor City, Clone High, and more, is coming back in a big way. You'll notice online that a lot of artists are trending towards sharper, grungier, more detailed art styles, and this is becoming noticeable in feature films and TV too. Into the Spider-Verse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Moon Girl, and Devil Dinosaur, even online shows like Hazbin Hotel and I Wanna Eat Your Guts are leaning more into 2000s aesthetics. Not to drop a plug, but the art for my pilot, Wastelandia, which I'm about to release this month if everything goes according to plan, and you should totally watch it if you want to, is heavily inspired by 2000s aesthetics and cartoons like A Kitty Bobo Show, a very sharp, richly textured show with a more scribbly, grungy style. Trends come and go, art styles wax and wane, and at the end of the day, animation studios just want to stay on top of what's hip and cool with the youth. And CalArts, as well as many other schools out there, are going to add as much of that current relevant reference material to their courses in order to secure jobs. It's more than likely that we'll see more feature films and TV shows shift from round, soft styles to sharp, angular styles, and then back again in 10 years because time is a flat circle and everything that is considered uncool will eventually come back into style. While I personally think the term CalArts style is silly and kind of just wrong, it's undeniable that during the 2010s, the soft, noodly, bean-mouth style was indeed popular. Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Gumball, Clarence, and many more set the tone and inspired an entire generation of young artists, just like the introduction of anime did for the generation before. And really, the CalArts style era was no different than the anime boom of the 2000s, except for one thing: social media. When I was a kid in the 2000s making terrible spiky-haired anime eye warrior cat fan art, my art, and the art of countless other young artists, was relegated to DeviantArt and other small art forums. The internet was newer, social media as we know it today didn't really exist, and so the art community was far more insular. But around the late 2000s to the early 2010s, there was a shift. Suddenly, there was pressure. No longer were artists posting posting for their 100 followers on DeviantArt, they were posting to an audience of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of strangers on social media, and oftentimes those strangers were not very kind. During this whole CalArt style debate, young artists were being put on blast in front of mass audiences, their art relentlessly mocked, and their interests and identities laughed at by the masses. And this is a culture that's continued to this day. It only takes one kind of bad, goofy drawing or one person to point out that they don't like your art style for you to become the internet main character for the day. Art has become more performative. There's a reason why so many young artists burn out trying to appease the algorithm to even get the smallest following or the slightest foothold in the industry. And in my opinion, I really think the whole CalArt style debate contributed to this sort of insecure irony poisoning of the art community, alongside that era where like every single young animation meme artist was being put on blast and in like cringe compilations. Do you guys remember that era? That was like genuinely horrible. While criticism of the round art era is valid and there are many things to criticize about it, I think this whole era of debate and criticism was overall kind of harmful for young artists and the art community at large. Criticism is good, especially when it comes to art, but mockery and at times even bigotry only weakens those criticisms until they become entirely lost in the discourse. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I really hope you enjoyed the video topic. I think this is my last video before Wastelandia comes out, so yeah, like I mentioned before, not to plug, but like if you want to watch it, it's gonna come out probably super soon. I put so much.
Hi sexies, it's Money from TalkShowBot, and you're watching No Good Fucking Television. And today, we're going to be talking about a no good fucking game, Yandere Simulator. I know this isn't the most topical of videos in the year of our Lord and Savior 2025. The Yansim hate train has died down for a while, but in my defense, when it was at its peak, I was like 14, okay? Leave me alone, I've been wanting to make this video for a while. I want to preface this by saying that I will not be discussing anything Yandev has done in his personal life, as I am just not qualified for that. This will solely be focusing on his game, and I will only be talking about what grievances I have with him as a storyteller and a game developer. Anyways, bit of an introduction, although I doubt you'll really need one if you clicked on this video. Yandere Simulator is a game that's been in development since 2014. It's described as stealth/action, although I don't think either of those are quite proper descriptors. Anyways, pause. So, I say this game has been in development since 2014, which is true, but you can technically play a version of the full game in the unfinished game. We need to talk about 1980s mode just for a second. I won't be long, I swear. So 1980s mode is a prequel, and in Yandere Dev's own words, is a complete story mode for Yandere Simulator. It's supposed to be the version of Yandere Simulator that people have wanted from the beginning. It's got all 10 rivals, a complete story, features and stuff that people have been asking for since the initial hype began. And I just cannot help but ask, why? Like, if you can make what is essentially the full version of Yansim people have been expecting, why the fuck is this game still not out? And, like, not to rag on the guy, because everybody does this, but it took him nearly 10 years to finally implement the first main rival in the game, but now you just have all 10 with, like, a separate elimination methods as a side story. It does not make sense. I do not understand. Every time that I think of 1980s mode, I can't help but think of the time where he mentioned in Interaction about not wanting to shift focus every time he'd found something new he enjoyed and wanted to implement into the game. But, my brother in Christ, is that not what you've done? You've completed the game you'd been advertising for years under the guise of, like, a prequel mode? Because it's not even, like, a full separate game. It's a mode. And now you're shifting focus? I don't know. That's my fundamental problem with 1980s mode. We'll get into that, you know, story-wise later, but I just really needed to talk about that right quick. Anyways, back to present day. Base game Yansim has you play as the character Ayano Aishi, who stalks and kills 10 rivals consisting of various anime tropes over the course of 10 weeks for the affection of her classmate, Taru Yamada. Very Scott Pilgrim. It seems simple enough. I'll have to admit, Yandev had definitely hit a sweet spot when it came to the initial rollout of the game's earlier builds. This is just when anime was getting mainstream, but still niche enough that he could cultivate a target audience of fans who'd be interested in the game, along with the rise of Let's Players on YouTube being as big as ever, which led to tons of exposure. Speaking of, that's how I was initially introduced to the game. With enough unrestricted internet access to watch people play stuff I wouldn't even dream of getting away with playing on my own. I was first introduced to the game through Markiplier's gameplay and the fan animation that accompanied it, but what really got me was the Cub Scouts Yandere Simulator Myth series. And I feel like this series really exemplifies the early charm of Yandere Simulator, just dicking around and seeing what you can do in the game. I give you all this backstory to let you know that I am not just like a hater to hate. I was previously a big fan of this game, and would still consider myself a fan of the initial concept. I think that Yandere Simulator really could have been something cool. Like other artists, I too planned on completely taking it and rehauling it to something that would be more in line with what I think would work best with the game. But every time I sat down and tried to do so, and trust me, I've been rotating this in my mind for a while, I felt sort of unsatisfied, and I never really understood why. So let me finally tell you my mentioned problem with Yandere Simulator as posed in the thumbnail. The lore. It's the fucking lore. Why does every game nowadays have to have lore? I swear, every fucking game, every game that tries to have an extended story and universe always falls into what I like to call the MatPat curse. Like, hearing lore for a game that really does not need extended lore just reminds me of that fucking Tiny Build tweet screenshot. And I think the absolute worst part of this whole fiasco is that most of this shit is not in the game. Outside of the tapes and some lines from the headmaster, most of the actual lore in this game, you have to go to Reddit or watch the YonSim development videos or the fan wiki or just scroll for hours through the Yandere website and blog. Speaking of, shout out to the fan wiki. Very helpful, lots of sources. I swear I did not know that the lore was this convoluted or expansive and also just fucking stupid until spending literally 5 minutes on that damn wiki. And trust and believe, if I was speaking from just the material that I could name off the top of my head, this video would be 5 minutes. Honestly, since I hadn't been keeping up with the game for years at the time of this video's conception in my mind, it wasn't until I was watching a different video called Can Yandere Simulator Be Fixed by the YouTuber Tea Time that I realized what my problem with my proposed rehaul and others' rehauls and hell, even the official game was. Yandere Simulator is not a game that you can take seriously. I brought up the Tea Time video because it was at the moment that the creator was discussing the names that it really clicked to me, because you gotta listen to this cast of characters. Osana Najimi, which translates to childhood friend. Kinda on the nose, but you know, whatever. Midori Gurinu, green. A bit of an odd name, but kind of a silly joke for basically a gag character. Asurito, for the sporty girl. Okay. My waifu. This guy's gotta be taking the piss, right? Right? He's taking the piss? He's just taking the piss! This is all just like a funny sort of game, right? I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, dear viewer. You were supposed to be taking this shit completely straight. Okay, my waifu, maybe not so much, but Asu? Yeah, she's a main rival. He named the fucking sporty rival Asurito. This has gotta be, like, that's... what? But no, guys, it's actually plot relevant, because they're actually nicknames made up by some random character who has no plot relevance till the end of the game. Anyways, yeah, no, that's totally not contrived at all, and is totally sound and relevant to the plot. Yeah, so basically, you're supposed to have a sort of connection with these characters. Yandev likes to describe his game as a Persona-esque social simulator. He often describes the game, actually, as a mashup of Persona and Hitman, two totally different games, with two totally different styles of gameplay, stories, and means of social simulation. Yandev, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. You cannot name a character fucking green, kill her off constantly in development videos, which, mind you, I'm supposed to be going to watch to get the lore since it's not in the actual fucking game, and then expect me to care about her when playing said game. Okay, actually, maybe Midori was a bad example. I did have a really big soft spot for her when first getting into the game. That one song was kind of a banger, I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, let's get into the roster of characters of this self-proclaimed social simulator and my issues with them. Because with the little that we do know about them, I've got some fucking opinions. First up, our protagonist, Ayano Aishi. She's pretty much a blank slate, which I actually don't find that bad in my non-serious version of the game that I think is far superior in my head. Blank slate for a sandbox game? Whatever, not important. I think the main thing that people have a problem with when it comes to Yanchan is that she's not actually very indicative of a real yandere. She doesn't have a sweet side, which is what the trope embodies. She's near completely emotionless except for her feelings for Senpai, which means she has no goals, no aspirations, or personality outside of having a crush on a boy. Again, this would totally be fine if it wasn't for the fact that you were supposed to care. And then we go on to Taro Yamada, the aforementioned senpai, which, okay, little segue into a different problem I have with this game. Everyone's supposedly 18, which falls apart with this character specifically, because how is he a senpai, which is a term reserved for students in higher grades? Maybe he's 18 and Yan-chan is just in the grade below. Maybe she started school a little bit late, but his fucking little sister goes to this school. Little, as in younger. So everyone's not 18, unless Taro is 19 and still in high school, which, okay, sure, girl, but anyways, we'll come back to that. Taro senpai, love interest. He's another character that I can kind of wave away being bland in the superior fake version of what this game should have been, because he's supposed to be a play on the harem anime MC. Boring guy, boring design that's got a ton of girls fawning over him. But again, and I hate to keep bringing this up, we are supposed to care about him. He is literally like the prize at the end of the game, and I just don't. Like, gun to my head, I could not tell you anything about him. His personality is described as friendly, and he is friendly as fuck. The fuck are you smiling in all these girls' faces for? I could never date him, because what do you need to be so friendly for? And like, how am I supposed to like him? The game isn't finished, so the most that we get of these characters are their bios on the website, and his name is not even mentioned until the end of the second paragraph of his bio. This whole thing is just explaining the concept behind the character and not actually the character of itself. 2 out of 10. His voice is cute, at least. Oh yeah, I'm ranking these now. So Yan-chan's a 1 out of 10. I can't stand to give her a 0, because, like, that's my girl. Anyways, on to the rivals. The goddamn rivals. The main mechanic behind the game is picking them off. But since we're supposed to be invested, they're bound to be interesting characters, right? First up, we've got Miss Childhood Friend herself, Osana Najimi. As stated before, she's Taro's childhood friend. Her personality is described as tsundere, which, not a personality, but sure, go off, I guess. She just is a tsundere, which I am not a fan of. I don't know, I think the trope can be good if the character is fleshed out properly, but she just is not. And I definitely do not buy her friendship with Taro. Like, I know I'm one to talk, but the bitch just seems bossy and annoying. Absolute 1 out of 10. Honestly, I was gonna give her a 0, but I quite like her design. Also, you cannot give her a stalker as a substitute for having an interesting backstory. I think he's trying to kind of embody the Subsidate storyline that he had with Kokona. She was the playtest stand-in for Osana, and that, like, was interesting because it connected to not only other characters, but also was technically used as an elimination method. This stalker guy gives us nothing. Like, literally nothing. This next one's not really a rival, but she's basically a package deal when it comes to Osana, so I'll just insert her here. Raibaru Fumetsu? Fucking Raibaru. Listen, man, I can only make fun of these names so much. Anyways, she's basically Osana's bodyguard and is the formal martial arts club leader. Major Yuri fodder, honestly, 5 out of 10. She doesn't get higher than that because she's more of a game mechanic than a character. A stupid game mechanic at that, because why does the tutorial character need to have a bodyguard with her at all times? That only makes sense for literally one character. And that's the hardest one. Why is she here? On to the second rival, Amae Orayaka. Her personality is described as sweet and gentle. Which, like, okay, she likes cooking for and feeding people. But also, it's said in her bio that she comes at a time when Senpai really needs a friend, which feels a little bit manipulative. Like, I'm sure it's not meant to be that way, and maybe she's just trying to help him, but also just seems like she's only there to comfort him because she likes him. Like, in her wiki description, it mentions that she wants someone to care about her the way that Senpai cares about Osana, which is why she pursues him? But, like, I'm pretty sure, like, that isn't entirely canon. It says nothing about it in her official bio, so who knows for real. Honestly, I may just be giving Yandev way too much credit, because while I think the concept of her trying to come off as sweet and innocent, but actually using the tragedy as a means to get closer to the guy that she has a crush on, is definitely interesting, I do not think Yandere Dev is smart enough to come up with that concept on his own. So, 3 out of 10. And then you've got Kazana Shinobu. Okay, I'm sorry, last time. I'm sorry. Kazana Shinobu. Third rival, she's described as arrogant and egotistical. She's leader of the drama club, and she's basically described as a total bitch who's mainly focused on her popularity and only interested in Senpai because he'd be a good addition to the drama club. Which, like, would he? Like, really? Like, in her bio, it says that her personality is distasteful, but her beauty is what drives Haru to be interested in her. And low-key, you know what? I fuck with it. Y'all know me. I am a sucker for the pretty mean girl, so I get it. 8 out of 10. Her design's kind of stupid, and I feel like she didn't have to basically be a prettier version of Kakona, but also, her tights are, I haven't mentioned that, most of the rivals have distinct tights. Hers are stupid. Moving on. Next up, we have Oka Okaruta. Oh my gosh, I love her so much, my beautiful, sweet princess of darkness. I'm sorry, I have such a soft spot for Oka, like, even before she was introduced as a rival and was just an inconsequential background character. She's the inspo for my Illy McMillan design, fun fact. I've loved her forever. Anyways, sorry, back to the task at hand, talking about this super fucking game. Oka's the leader of the Occult Club, and the fourth rival. Her personality is creepy and gloomy, and she believes her crush on Senpai is somewhat supernatural, which, you know, I don't doubt. Because how the fuck do 11 girls all find this absolutely positively tantalizing? I just don't get it. Anyways, Oka gets a 10 out of 10. You can pry my shy goth girl from my cold dead hands. She's very Emily Class of 09 in the way that I need someone to take them from their respective games and treat them with the love and care that they deserve. And also, you know what? Make them kiss while you're at it. Fuck it. Who doesn't love Yuri? Asurito is the fifth rival, and is apparently based on the Genki trope, which I actually don't think I'd ever heard of before working on this video. Basically, it just means that she's energetic. She's also described as competitive. Her role is to cheer Senpai up through, like, exercise and stuff. I don't know, I mean, I'd be pretty bummed out too if, like, all my friends were mysteriously dying or whatever. And she's a top athlete, and I don't know, she's nothing to me. Sporty girl, that's all. She gets a 3 out of 10 for being the only character in this game darker than paper. And yes, I know that it's probably just a tan, and also I know that it falls into the stereotype of making the tomboy character tanner than the rest, which for some reason is just a thing in anime, which disassociates quote-unquote dark skin with femininity, which, by the way, Yondev is guilty of not just once, but twice in the same fucking game. But shut up, okay? Not everything needs to be woke. Let me have this, okay? Although, you know what? That's my fault for expecting any type of a representation in a 2014 anime parody game. And next up, we've got Mujakina. She's the sixth rival and is described as ditzy and clumsy. Now, you may be thinking, and don't worry, I was in the same boat. Isn't this lady like a full-on adult? Why is she a rival? Haha, fret not, because actually, she's a student nurse. And depending on how often you've been keeping up with Yansim, you might think, no, she's not, she's just the nurse. Well, no. Yondev actually changed it to be a student nurse because it just made sense. Which, like, why didn't you just do that in the first place? Whatever. Now, this is before we know everything, right? I'm prefacing this before we get the full context of the school, but it's never explained whether she's in nursing school or just a student at academy in the base game, studying under the nurse. It's not specified, but both options are kind of iffy because the first option, she's in college and going after a high schooler who's 18 with an asterisk, or, second option, she's a high schooler, and Yandere have just designed her like that. Fucking icky all around if you don't know what you're talking about. -5 out of 10. This design is super cute, though. I'm a sucker for slutty nurse costumes, but, like, in a high school setting? Come on now. Anyways, now on to the rival who's just inappropriate no matter which way you try to spin it. Mira Rana. Who the fuck let this lady into a school looking like this? You cannot place Japan me on this with that cultural difference bullshit, because East Asia is notoriously more conservative when it comes to fashion in the workplace. Anyways, she's described as sultry and seductive, and I'm going to read you her bio, because I need you to know that I am not exaggerating, paraphrasing, or being overly extra when I say that this bitch needs to be on a registry. It's about to get really gross, so I'm gonna put a timestamp so you can just skip over basically her entire character. You won't be missing out on anything, I promise. Mira is a substitute teacher who absolutely loves her job. There's nothing that she enjoys more than having dozens of eyes all directed towards her, especially if those eyes belong to teenage boys. Mira will appear at the school in the 7th week of gameplay in order to fill in for an unavailable teacher. She will quickly begin hunting for new prey, and Senpai will catch her attention. Her hobby is seducing schoolboys, and so far, no man has ever been able to resist her charms. If she decides that she wants someone, they have no hope of escape. Senpai won't be able to escape her clutches unless someone takes drastic measures. I know that I was getting on his ass a lot earlier, but someone please pray for my boy Senpai. Help him. Save him. Negative 50 out of 10. Yondev has stated that she goes after Senpai because she's ready to quote-unquote settle down. Settle down with the teenage boy. Definitely a choice. It's also mentioned that she likes to roleplay as a younger student who looks up to him. Who the fuck let him write this shit, bro? Like, bro is on to nothing. Take his pen. Check his hard drive. Anyways, next rival, who's thankfully not an adult or suspected adult, the tough and intimidating Osaru Shidasu. She's the leader of the delinquents and is known as the toughest girl in school. Her tough and closed-off personality is a result of growing up in a poor and abusive household.
This chicken is cold.
She's hinted at having a different side to her. Honest to God, I do not know how she's a rival or when her and Taro would ever interact besides, like, her bullying him. And in that case, we're like 3 for 3 on Taro liking girls who are mean to him. Do you have something you want to share, Taro? Not like I can talk. 5 out of 10. She's basic as fuck, but I like the ship of her and Taro. Next up, we've got Hanako Yamada, described as girly and childish. Okay, no, seriously, can we check this nigga's hard drive? And yeah, no, you didn't hear me wrong. Hanako Yamada, as in Taro Yamada, as in his little sister. Thankfully, the reason Hanako is rival isn't because she's in love with him, but because she just really wants all his attention to herself. It's pretty tame, but still, knowing Yondev and the other dynamics in this game, it just feels kinda icky, you know? Anyways, she's described as overbearing, and instead of confessing her love on Friday, she makes him promise to never get a girlfriend, which, you know, okay, cool. Also, little fun fact, Nemesis-chan is actually Hanako. I don't know, that's kind of cool. 4 out of 10. I don't really like how infantilized she is, and I just know Yondev was in the studio holding back making her say Nii-chan in the rival introduction video. She still calls him Big Brother, though, which is like such a fucking pet peeve in media with siblings for me. I have 5 siblings, and I guarantee you, I call none of them like Big Brother or Big Sister. I call them their names, like normal people. And last, but oh my god, definitely not fucking least, although I wish she was, we've got Megami Saiko. I say definitely not least because her bio is stacked. Look at this compared to, say, Asu's. Her personality is described as untouchable goddess, and she's based off of the Mary Sue trope. She's the student council president, the heiress to the Saiko Corporation, and the hardest rival in the game. That's because she's actually aware of the fact that there's a chick going around and killing people, and she takes measures to prevent the killings from continuing. This is actually kind of relevant to the lore, and we'll circle back to that whole thing. Now, it's technically unknown if she has any romantic interest in Taro, and she definitely won't be pursuing him since a whole thing with her family is like arranged marriages, because you have got better things to deal with than this milquetoast ass guy. Now, I want to give her a high score, because the whole thing with her making the game harder to complete with her security implication rather than like a bullshit bodyguard is just, you know, it's kind of interesting. But the reason that she's able to do that is also what I think is her downfall lore-wise. She has so much power and control because she's linked to the Saiko Corporation, which has been the stupidest, most pointless addition to this goddamn game. But she's an untouchable girl boss and very pretty, so she gets 8 out of 10. That's fair, right? Other characters include the Gyaru bullies. I love them all. Info-chan, who's more of a mechanic than a real character, but the fact that a big part of her character is being mysterious, I can accept that. You know, the guidance counselor, who, again, more of a mechanic than a character, the headmaster, and Ayano's mother, Ryoba Aishi. Okay, now we, actually have to talk about lore. So, the first piece of lore I remember hearing about this game, and the very thing that made me decide that this whole game story was officially no longer something that I was interested in, was the Aishi family condition. The condition is that all members of the Aishi family are born basically emotionless, and only a specific person gives the ability to feel whole. This concept isn't really anything new. I mean, we hear about it in the beginning of the game. It's the opening cutscene. But hearing that it's this whole thing that spans back generations, 200 years or so, back to, the first Aishi. Nuts. Crazy. I'd always kind of suspected that Ryoba was a yandere, or at least knew some shit about some shit, all the way back in, 2018 when the video A Childhood Lesson dropped. Ryoba cuts her finger and gives Ayano a lesson about how to clean up blood in a completely untraceable way. And, honestly, let's stop to talk about it for a second. 1980 Senpai didn't know what the fuck life was about. He was struggling in the basement tapes. Ryoba is a bad... I've wanted her since before I conceptualized the fact that I could like girls. I would love to be trapped in her basement, okay? Anyways, it was also hinted at in some of the headmaster's voice lines that Ryoba had something mysterious with her going on. There's literally no reason that this needed to be expanded on, though. Like, who cares? This very easily could have been like a wink, nod, nudge thing to the player. It maybe could have been explored with 1980s mode after the main game was finished, not just expedition dumped on the goddamn website and through tapes that you have to scatter to find. But anyways, that's Stupid Contrived Lore Thing Part 1. Stupid Contrived Lore Thing Part 2, Ghost Girl. Honestly, I have a bit less of a problem with Ghost Girl. She's kind of like a fun Easter egg if you go to the 3rd floor bathroom. She didn't really serve much purpose at first. She was just kind of there. But then, of course, Yandere Dev, the over-explainer over here, had to go back and be like, actually, Ghost Girl is Sumito Saitozaki, and she's Ryoba's first rival. But, like I said, I actually have less of a problem with this one. I think it's kind of stupid that she has a backstory, but, like, it's a pretty okay one. Stupid Contrived Lore Thing Part 3, The Fucking Magical Girl Show. This is like a whole thing, dude. Yondev went fucking on and on about it, not only in-game, but on his website, with all these stupid concepts. And while it does technically have an impact on the main gameplay, being the reason that Osana is being stalked, it literally could have just been mentioned by name. All you had to say was, Magical Pretty Girl Miyuki, and I would have got the concept by the name alone. This is really more than anyone ever needed. The minigame and the AR game thing was like more than we needed already. Costume, Easter egg, bit much. The concept of a pretty magical girl Miyuki is cool for like world building purposes, and just the fact that it is a franchise, people like it, and the minigame, that's all fine to include. But Yondev going into depth about the concept of this entire franchise, the Magical Girl Show, all the characters, who cares? Literally, who cares? Snore, boring, change the channel, shut it the fuck up. In the background, I'm showing you how much there is on the wiki about this stupid thing that nobody cares about. Literally, why does this matter? Why is this all here? Maybe this is what's taking the game so long, you know? Yondev is just swirling around magical girl concepts in his mind instead of actually working on anything to do with his main game. You know, knowing him, I'd believe that. Anyways, last and most contrived stupid lore thing is the Psycho Family Corporation. Now, Psycho Corporation's been in the background of the game for like a while. It's kind of an inconsequential detail on appliances within the game. But of course, Yandere Dev decided to do what he does best and over-explain the concept. Like, this literally could have just been an in-universe thing that we accept as part of canon. Just like with the Magical Girl thing. Most tech stuff is manufactured by some company named Psycho Corp. Last Rival has a connection to the business, which explains why she's so rich and powerful. Okay? Moving on. But no. In fact, fuck you for even thinking that it could be that simple, you know? Fuck you for not thinking about the importance of a random logo. Fuck you, because I've spent hours of my time reading about this bullshit, so you're gonna hear me talk about it. I'm sorry. I'm very tired. So basically, the Psycho Corporation is like this mega rich tech conglomerate that was founded back in 1946 and is run by the Psycho family. They make tons of tech and stuff of that sort. The founder was apparently big on keeping the negative environmental effects of his corporation minimal. You know, what a sweet and thoughtful billionaire, right? Oh, we're gonna get back to that one. So the reason that Psycho Corp is important to Yandere Simulator is because Academia was built for the oldest Psycho child, Ichigo, and it was built for her to have, quote-unquote, the best school experience. You get it? Because Psycho means the best. Okay, sorry. That's like the last name joke that I'll make throughout this video. I need to entertain myself somehow, because getting the lore through reading huge chunky blocks of text instead of playing the game is it's getting to me a little bit. This shit is so boring. Task at hand. Ichigo, I need you to look at her lengthy ass character description as compared to, I don't know, let's say the first rival of the game. I'll summarize for you though. Ichigo wasn't the best in school, so Big Daddy Psycho, no, I am not looking up his real name, I don't care, built the school for her. Some people believe that the reason for the school's construction was more of a boot camp than a real school for Ichigo. Basically, this whole block of text exists not to explain a seemingly important character to the lore, but why everyone at the school is supposedly 18 while going to a high school and wear middle school uniforms. Also, some bullshit about the names of certain students being actually nicknames in the school's name. Mind you, none of this would need an extensive explanation if Yandere Dev would just call a spade and admit that this entire game's existence is a huge anime joke. I feel like he He's dug himself into a hole of wanting to have it both ways. He wants a funny joke game, but also a lore-driven story, and instead of just embracing the jokish nature of the whole situation and plot, he's dug himself deeper with all these complex explanations for everything, which, mind you, do not help his case. You have to go out of your way to get all of this information, so the average consumer who he's seemingly trying to appeal to by making sure that this game isn't just weeb shit, to them, this game is just a goddamn joke. Anyways, Ichigo apparently supposedly had a twin sister from a speculated separate timeline. So basically, like, Fun Girl stepped into this time machine and was then erased from existence, and that's why she exists how she does, and like, why do we need this? Why couldn't she just be a fun anti-piracy type thing? Why does this have to be, like, lore? Anyways, thankfully, because I am tired, I will spare you the rest of this bullshit. Like, I don't know, the eugenics and Big Daddy Psycho's Japanese nationalist views and the fact that Yandere Dev has compared the family to a fucking cult, because I don't want to, okay? I just don't care. Maybe in another video, but right now, I am so sick of these light blue-haired fucks and just this game in general. I just want to remind you guys that this is the same game where you can turn into Ebola-chan and kill students by touching them. And like I said, sometimes the convoluted lore of this game could serve purposes. Like I mentioned with the whole Kakona subsidy thing, you know, Kakona's dad was struggling and had to take out a loan and was now being extorted for money. As a result, Kakona goes on subsidized dates to make some extra money when they fall on hard times. It's some nice backstory to a side character and, at the time, the rival of the game. But why is this important, though? Is it to explain some stupid thing that really doesn't need explanation in the first place and no one really cares about? Well, no, it's actually used as a way to get rid of Kakona without getting any blood on your hands. The whole Uranshaku thing is a way to not only get info on Kakona, but an elimination method. She ends up snapping and killing Musume and is no longer a threat to the goal of getting with Senpai. This proves that sometimes background info and lore can enhance the game and give way to interesting mechanics. But for right now, all we get is meaningless lore fodder that means nothing, adds nothing, and makes no difference whatsoever. I do not care that this family owns a tiger. I do not give a fuck. And I can guarantee you, none of the 9-year-olds who haven't abandoned ship on this game give a fuck either. And, you know, I really would not care if this was just like a J.K. Rowling situation of just saying shit after the whole game has wrapped up. But dude, you are focusing on this useless info when your game still is not finished. It's been 11 years. And what really irks me is that not only has this been like time wasting just talking about it, but you literally went out of your way to make a 1980s mode to add to lore. Like, the whole Aishi family curse thing is interesting, but did we need a complete game mode exploring it before we got the actual full game? Were the basement tapes, like, not enough? Anyways, let's wrap this up. It's been 30 minutes. Yondev is a hack who can't write for shit. And he should have ultimately kept this game as just kind of an anime parody. Hell, if he wanted to have it both ways, he could have just had a situation where the original joke version of the game would have been its own thing, and this new convoluted story and lore-driven version of the game could have been a separate thing. That way, the joke version would still be somewhat looked on fondly as just a moment from time in 2016 where we all just couldn't get enough of killer anime girls. Instead of now, this kind of shambling, rotting corpse that's not quite dead but not quite living. He wouldn't need to add all this contrived shit about how actually it's not just a game stitched together by anime tropes, bad Japanese, and duct tape. He would just embrace it and then have this new lore-driven thing as something separate. But yeah, hey man, that's just me. Bottom line is, this guy, his game, and its story sucks. And you know who doesn't suck? Me. Which is why you should like, subscribe, and all that other YouTube promotional shit. And I will see you in the next episode.
At any moment, they might surprise you with something wonderful. I kept waiting for that, the proof that even though my mother was a hard woman, deep down, she loved me and cared about me and wanted me to know that I made her life a little bit brighter. And even now, I find myself waiting. But there was this moment, this one instant of strange calm, where she looked in my direction and said, "I see you." It's the last thing she said to me. Not a statement of judgment or disappointment, just acceptance and the simple recognition of another person in a room. Hello there. You are a person, and I see you. Let me tell you, it's a weird thing to feel at 54 years old that for the first time in your life, your mother sees you. Jesus Christ. We were in the intensive care unit. She was just reading a sign. You know the shittiest thing about all of this? Is when that stranger behind the counter gave me that free churro. That small act of kindness showed more compassion than my mother gave me her entire goddamn life. Like, how hard is it to do something nice for a person? This woman at the Jack in the Box didn't even know me. I'm your son. All I had was you.
So here's the thing about neglect and the need to be seen in BoJack Horseman. It's a concept that's described really well in Free Churro, where BoJack, while giving a eulogy for his mother, latches on to the understanding that his mother finally saw him before she passed, acknowledged his presence, and treated him even remotely like a person. Eventually, however, once he understands that she wasn't really speaking to him, or saying really anything of meaning at all, he ends up becoming more hurt from the prospect of possibly getting closure and being recognized, and then once again being only disappointed by these figures. It speaks to a really important and prevalent problem where children don't get the love and care that they need developmentally, and it in turn can possibly affect them for the rest of their lives. In fact, neglect is far more prevalent than other types of childhood abuse, and is even considered to be relatively common. And this is exemplified in many families across the cast of BoJack Horseman, not through just BoJack himself, though he is likely the most obvious and in-depth example. There are so many neglectful parents in the show, although they all show it in different ways. The prime examples being BoJack's parents, who really didn't pay much attention to him at all when he was a child, as we can clearly see in Brand New Couch, where they seemingly left him alone all night and then argue over his television show at such a volume that he can't hear a single word, and then not even acknowledging BoJack's presence. Beatrice comes in for a few seconds and is overtly cruel, but there's never really any conversation between the two of them, only blame from one side. No words of kindness or even apologies out of simple decency for arguing so blatantly and violently in front of him. No recognition of him as a person who deserves to be living, deserves to be loved. No giving him time to even give reasonable input in the conversation because it doesn't even matter. I spoke a lot in my recent video about motherhood, the reasons why Beatrice was so cruel, but I didn't really get into the extent of her psychological abuse of BoJack and how it truly formed his way of thinking. She pretty much uses him for social clout, to impress all the other housewives, but when no one else is around, he essentially doesn't exist. He's told to find something to do, to go away because she's tired, and is overall ignored until he can be of use to her, always taking the opportunity because, of course, as any human does, he wants to feel as close to his parents as possible. She's so wrapped up in her own misery, her own issues, that she does not care for her child. From her perspective, there's no room for her to care for her child. And every time they speak, Beatrice reminds him of what he did to her body or her life, demeaning him and lowering his self-esteem even further, all while expecting appreciation for giving him life in the first place. Simply doing this, becoming a mother at all, makes her a hero, and that she deserves to mistreat him. And I didn't mention much about Butterscotch at all, though he does a ton of damage to BoJack's psyche himself. He doesn't involve himself in any part of BoJack's development, really, as we can see throughout Time's Arrow. When BoJack is relatively a newborn baby and is crying for attention or food, Butterscotch resolves to simply pawn it off on Beatrice, who deals with the crying through the abuse of drugs instead of comforting or feeding BoJack himself. Because Butterscotch, at the end of the day, is trying to provide that life that Beatrice is used to, and as Diane describes when she analyzes their behavior in One Trick Pony, her book about BoJack, often fails to sustain that life. So he's working extremely hard, he's extremely tired, and takes it out on his child, ultimately neglecting him. And BoJack is then left alone, crying for hours on end, believing that the world is simply harsh, cruel, and that there is no one to protect him or shield him from harm. And he will just have to make his way through life himself. We'll be speaking more about this a lot later. But Butterscotch spends most of his days locked in his study, writing his novel that isn't published until after BoJack is already an adult, and really close to his own death, even. It goes on like this, though, for decades, where he really only gets to speak to his father when he's forced to be in Bojack's vicinity, like when Beatrice forgot to pick him up from soccer practice. Oftentimes not really contributing anything to the conversation at all, because his father rants incessantly and criticizes every response that Bojack does try to give, sometimes even involving physical violence as a punishment for the so-called wrong answer. So he largely either never sees his parents, as they spend tons of time distracting themselves from their own misery, as I discussed in detail in the generational trauma video I made a while back, and when he does see them in person, they don't really look at him as a human being, or horseman being, I guess. More of a figure to simply bounce their insecurities and complaints off of, or to project their own failures onto. So this need to be seen, as Bojack describes it, is completely understandable. But I'll describe further the actual effects of this neglect in just a bit. Before I get into that, though, another great example of this comes through Diane's family, who, though definitely not as overtly physically abusive or emotionally cruel to her, also largely disregarded her as a person in favor of her 4 brothers for most of her life. We don't really get a clear picture of her mother and how they interacted when she was younger, but when she returns as an adult, all she really receives from her is blame for leaving them behind, for thinking that she's better than them and not sticking around and taking their abuse forever. It paints a really awful picture about how Diane was treated as a young woman, where striving to branch out and achieve anything was seen as stuffy or pretentious in their own family, as her brothers were then lauded for every minor success and comforted for years over every tiny failure, like them not getting into Boston College.
I'm just saying Marty could lend a hand instead of sitting on the couch watching the game all day.
Oh, Dee Dee. You know very well. His leg's still sore from the accident at the quarry.
Yeah, he's got to rest up if he's going to be a wide receiver for BC.
He didn't get into BC.
A small injury that prevents them from actually playing a sport, or them rewatching a doomed game over and over, screaming at the television every time they lose, and begging everyone not to jinx it, which they obviously lose every single time since it took place in the 1980s.
Don't fight while the game's on. It's bad juju.
It's the 86 World Series. They lose.
We're just a bunch of savages, right?
Her father did the same, obviously, but can also be seen dismissing Diane when she has questions about her ancestry, not really paying attention to her, even though he has the information, as she states that he's a professor of Vietnamese history.
I know that, but I mean, what is our background? Why do I look different from the other kids?
Shove it up your rear, you jag-off. You're just the same as anybody else, and don't let nobody tell you different.
I just thought maybe you could give me a little more cultural context, what with you being a tenured professor of Vietnamese history at Tufts and all.
Christ, Dee Dee, that's my job. I wouldn't ask you to have a period on your day off.
He just doesn't give her the time of day at all, treats her as less than her brothers. Not to mention, one of the worst stories Diane mentions is in Good Damage, where he sabotaged her in Boggle so he could prove that her brothers were, quote, wicked smarter than a girl. I love how Diane's brain tells her that this isn't a good enough story, but that straight up floored me, personally. The self-doubt is so strong because of all of this treatment just directly putting her down or ignoring her feelings, as I will describe again later on. But this episode gives you a lot of context for that. And if you thought this was enough, they also largely allowed her brothers to just overtly mistreat her and abuse her, not stepping in as they should and steering their sons away from that behavior before they ultimately permanently traumatized her through the Cryan situation. Honestly, hate rewatching those scenes. It's a tragedy. I think about how fucked up it is quite a bit, and it plays a huge hand in Diane's character across all seasons. Not being protected in that way does unspeakable things to people developmentally, to people that they inherently trusted, because, you know, it's your immediate family. And even Todd's mother, as well, could be guilty of this at times, even though I applaud her greatly for working hard to rehabilitate her relationship with him and eventually return into his life, which is actually a good time to add, by the way, that it doesn't make any of these parents automatically bad people. You know, I hate defining anyone as one thing on this channel. Everybody's got layers, but it's worth noting the correlation in this behavior and, as I will discuss in a bit, the resultant behavior in their children. But when Todd was 18, he was kicked out of the house for his video game addiction, as he didn't have a job, he didn't go to school, and he didn't really care to do much of anything. It is worth noting how this is definitely addictive behavior, where he can't even take care of himself because of this game, but you know, because it's not like overtly drugs or alcohol, oftentimes it's dismissed as just like laziness for some reason, and thus he's kicked out of the house. However, I don't know. For someone to do this to their child at 18, I know this is a controversial opinion, but he did just finish high school and he's clearly struggling with some sort of attention issues with this video game, maybe reckoning with his direction in life. So why don't we try to help him by getting a therapist? Or something, breaking or selling the game so he couldn't play it, at least. She said she tried everything, but she really didn't. I know Todd was in a really bad place, but he's still a person. He's still your son. It's so fucked up to me that a lot of parents consider doing this still, forcing their children out as soon as they hit 18 or just a bit after to prove some sort of harsh lesson about independence. And a lot of those people can end up homeless. I mean, you are their guardian. You brought them to life. It is your job to take care of them and provide them support to help them through their more difficult times. Kicking them out of the house at an arbitrary age because of, you know, what the law says, and as Todd's mom does, cutting off all contact is nothing short of emotional abuse. And I'm not really gonna treat it as anything else. It's quite a different type of the more overtly cruel instances of mistreatment that we have seen in this series, and we know that Todd's mother still cares in general a great deal for him, and genuinely thought this was the only way to deal with his issues, unlike BoJack's own parents. But it still is neglecting the actual problem, any way you slice it. Also, fun fact, I don't really give a shit that it worked out in the end and Todd ended up landing on his feet. Todd got so lucky ending up on BoJack's rich-ass couch in his rich-ass house with a subsequent thorough support system through Mr. Peanut Butter and Princess Carolyn and Diane. He gets good friends through his connection to BoJack. I mean, Princess Carolyn isn't the best at first, definitely just in it for the money, but eventually those two become like the closest friends. He could have just as easily ended up completely homeless, which happens to many children who are kicked out of the house today for whatever reason, their sexual identity, for the sake of independence, for disappointing their parents, or what have you. Stop doing this to your own children. God, I really don't like how normalized it is, too. And I think the show recognizes and touches on this as well, where it's really difficult for Todd's mother to face how long she's waited to contact him and how much it has hurt Todd that she didn't support him. It's also a little bit about the kidney, of course, where Jorge tells Todd that a mother feels that she shouldn't owe her life to her son, but I think a lot of it is also her treatment of him and Todd still doing this for her. She's the one who really has to make it up to Todd, and she does, which I found a really touching ending to Todd's story that I didn't really expect, to be honest. I'm glad we were able to clear it up and humanize and characterize his mother and show not only why she did it in the first place, but how she regrets it now. And even though Todd did develop positively and recognizes that himself, he still wished his mother just stayed in his life, tried to help him and support him. Jorge too, during that time, because he was really struggling. And it's important not to minimize all the concrete effects.
So the lady who fell in love with her psychiatrist, Kendra, has been going live constantly and continuing the story on her page to make use of the recent virality that's been gifted to her. Now, whether it be because of the money or the enablers, her allegations and delusions have become that much more aggressive. So I thought we'd quickly go over everything that's happened since my last recording on the topic, but before that, be sure to subscribe to the channel. In my last video, I got a lot of really hateful comments, like genuinely some of the angriest comments that I've ever received on this channel, and I'm not even joking. They were about my denunciation of the capabilities of Waffle House workers in regards to physical combat. Because I naively made the claim that Waffle House employees could not fight, and I was very, very wrong. I really do hope you can all forgive me for this mistake, but I understand that to many, it is a truly unforgivable sin that I've committed. So if you choose not to support me anymore, I understand understand. It was a disgusting error on my part. But if you subscribe to the channel, then I will fight a Waffle House worker when I visit Florida this year. If immigration doesn't get me, they certainly will. Anyway, let's get started with Kendra's new TikTok, starting with part 21, because since the last video, she keeps releasing new parts, right? There's no doubt in my mind that the plan from the beginning was not to release 50 fucking parts on this whole thing, but because it's garnered so much virality and it's making her so much money, probably getting her a bunch of new clients and definitely soliciting a lot of donations in live, she's just sort of continuing it for the sake of it, which leads me to ask some very important questions that we'll talk about a bit later, but stay with me here.
A clinician left the frame open and a patient spiraled inside of it. I don't think a better sentence could sum up what was going on at this point, because I was absolutely spiraling. People can say that I'm spiraling now, or that I'm manic, or that I have, whatever diagnosis all these armchair therapists want to give me, but let me tell you, I was spiraling that month after the February appointment. I just could not stop daydreaming about psychiatrist. I could not stop daydreaming about being with him. I daydreamed about converting my religion so we could get married, and yeah, it was bad.
Now, when Kendra says things like that, it's totally fine. I feel like everyone's in agreement with her, or anyone reasonable is in agreement with her when she says that those spirals, those delusions, are bad. It's weird because she is self-admittedly delusional, or she definitely was at a point, but even then, it's not really delusional, it's just more obsession. I guess the delusion comes from her saying that the psychiatrist was equally in love with her, but that's a delusion that is still protruding to this day. Like, it has nothing, or it does have something to do with the way she was back then, but it's still happening. If anything, it's worse now. But we can definitely agree that it was bad. These spirals were definitely bad. And also that armchair therapists shouldn't be diagnosing Kendra with any, official illnesses, because at the end of the day, we don't know. We're not doing a sit-down assessment with the lassie. We're just listening to her stories on TikTok. To be frank, there is a small chance that this entire thing is just cosplay. Like, the whole thing could legitimately just be a fake story. And the fact that that could be a possibility, albeit a very small possibility, means that we definitely should not be making any assertive decisions about potentially diagnosing the lady. And if anything, there's actually more reason to believe that at the very least, elements of this story are being made up. And I don't mean made up in the way that's like she's delusional and she's trying to tell it honestly, but inadvertently making stuff up because she's not of sound mind, right? I mean, there might just be some parts of the story that are being made up to continue the story because it went on, it's doing so well that she doesn't want to stop it. She doesn't want the story to stop where it actually stopped in real life and is trying to find a way to exploit it and squeeze however much juice she can out of the whole thing. I think that's a much stronger possibility, by the way, than the entire thing just being made up.
Explained to me that it was going to be $187 to see him for his cash pay price, and I would have to see him once every 3 months. And it was in that moment that I decided that I was not going to pay to torture myself anymore.
So it was the moment where you had to start paying a significant amount of money that you stopped, right? And you say it's because you didn't want to torture yourself anymore. I feel as though there's a strong chance you stopped going because you had to pay an amount of money that was bigger than you're comfortable with. Is it the sort of thing where, because there were no indications before, that at least mentioned by you, that you knew you were in a very unhealthy position? It seemed as though you thought you were genuinely in the right and were being manipulated, but the second money gets involved and you need to pay a bit more money, you realize just how corrupt the whole thing is and that you're being manipulated. I don't know, maybe it's just a sign that deep down, even during the psychiatry when she was having these delusions, she knew that, he didn't really feel that way about her, because the second money is involved, or that amount of money, those delusions don't matter as much anymore. Like, she's willing to look past them. Or maybe she just couldn't afford it and is trying to frame it in a more thematically interesting way. Who knows? Maybe she did genuinely come to the realization at that moment that she was being manipulated or whatever, coincidentally, when money started getting involved. It's difficult to derive any absolute assertions here or even figure out what's most likely, but they're interesting topics to think about. Here's our response to some of the criticism that she's getting for AI.
A lot of people are messaging me about the environmental impacts of AI, and yes, I agree. There are environmental impacts, and there are also environmental impacts of taking a cross-world flight or of eating meat. And, the toothpaste is not going back in the tube with AI. People are not going to stop using it. It's going to become more and more a part of our society.
Yeah, but that doesn't really justify you using it for the most menial tasks ever. If you know that you're doing significant harm to the planet, obviously not you as an individual, but you are contributing to that significant amount of harm, and you have the opportunity or the ability to not do such a thing at little expense to yourself and your own self-worth or your own well-being, you probably shouldn't be doing said thing. Like a cross-world flight, as harmful as that might be for the environment, there's at least a purpose there that you can justify to an extent, right? You are traveling to a different place for a holiday or to meet family or just to, I don't know, escape whatever country you're in at the minute, right? There's a logical reason for it that can be explained logically and easily, right? You don't need to jump hoops or tie a bunch of, I don't know where I'm going with it. You don't need to try too hard to explain away why you're doing it. Same with eating meat, right? There's a plethora of reasons why someone might want to eat meat. But anthropomorphizing AI as like, or personifying it, because it's not an animal, I guess, as Henry or Claude or these fucking insane therapist people that you just have in your wee head, not only does that do harm to the planet, but it also does harm to you. Like, it doesn't help you at all either. It's a net negative all around. And you're pissing people off as well. This goes to those people who use ChatGPT for like stupid questions as well, or just use it for like literally everything.
Quite a bit about this. And, you know, the way that he was making it seem, because this is kind of what I thought, was that it was an innocent case of transference and countertransference.
I really, really hate the way that she keeps referring to Henry as he. It fucking creeps me the fuck out. It's like when a really blokey bloke refers to their car as she, right? It's like, fair enough, maybe on the surface it's not that bad, but there's certain people who get like really into it. Like, oh, she's a beauty, isn't she? I can handle that, right? Surface, I can handle that. That's fine. I wouldn't do it, but it's fine. But then they start like looking at it and they start like drooling a little bit and they start comparing it to other cars and shit. And if there's a yellow car, they sort of lose their hard on, if that makes sense. Start saying things, but like it's difficult to understand them because of the saliva buildup in their mouths as they look at their fucking car. Start referring to it as like, isn't she just the most beautiful hunk of fucking metal you've ever... And I'm like, all right, dude, do you want to fuck your car? Like, what's going on here? All those guys who are like really into their dog's balls as well. They're annoying, aren't they? What? You know what I'm talking about? Those guys who just refuse to get their dogs neutered because they fucking like they fondle with the balls and everything. Like they'll pick the dog up, get it on camera and be like, see these fucking balls? Yeah, they're beautiful, aren't they? The government wanted to control me and my dog by making me cut his fucking balls off. It's always a huge fuck off dog they do that with as well. I'd love it if they were doing those sort of theatrics with like a wee shih tzu. Just a dog that you could like punt across a tennis field.
You know, there's a client that comes into my work whose dog, it's a shih tzu.
Yeah.
They refuse to neuter it even though it's got cancer on its balls and it's made it go bald.
Whoa.
It's made the dog go bald, but because it's not going to kill the dog, they're refusing to snip the dog. So now the dog is a bald rat looking thing, but it's still got these massive balls that, because of the cancer, these really droopy balls, and you can see because it's naked, it's not got any hair, it's awful, it's actually awful. They bring it into the salon.
It's a bloke.
What, the dog?
No, with the
Yeah.
Obviously the dog's a fucking bloke.
I was gonna be like, yeah?
The owner?
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
it's a couple, but the guy's the one that refuses.
He's wearing the pants.
Yeah, he's like, this dog has went 15 years with his balls. It's going to go another 15 with still with them. I was like, okay. And that psychiatrist's boundaries were just so good that he wasn't going to cross them. When really, now looking back, what I know it was, or I think, is that he just liked the power of being my doctor. And he didn't want the vulnerability of an actual relationship, and he was able to just get his needs met in that once-a-month session.
So you don't listen to Henry when it's not convenient or doesn't line up to... I can't believe I'm fucking calling him Henry, by the way. You don't listen to ChatGPT unless he lines up perfectly with your ideas of what's happening. But as soon as he says something that is contradicting to what you think is happening, then all of a sudden he's chatting shit, right? You don't believe what it is saying. I can't believe oh god, that's really disturbing me now. I feel like I should punch myself in the face or restart the recording or just fucking kill myself at this point for using he/him pronouns for ChatGPT. The fucking transgender men watching me who are hearing he/him pronouns for ChatGPT, who aren't being respected pronoun-wise by loads of people in their life, most likely. They're fucking, honestly, they'd be seething watching this.
I compiled this monologue, and I was so proud of it. And then I was ready the day before my final appointment, and I log into Facebook, and guess who I have a friend request from? The therapist, the 75-year-old PhD therapist, friend requested me on Facebook not even a month after I told her that I would not be coming back. I've heard some people say, oh, that was a really professional email that she sent you. I beg to differ, because it is extremely unprofessional after I say I will not be coming back to then friend request me on Facebook.
Let's be fair here. She's that's fucking correct. Like, that is if it's true, that's really weird that she would send a friend request on Facebook. Then again, no, there is no then again. That's fucking weird. There's no justifying that. It's not abusive or nothing, but it is weird and it is very unprofessional. The email itself was still professional. Like, the email was fine, though. The friend request does not make the email any less professional. Now, obviously, there is a possibility that upon receiving backlash for the way that she talked about the 75-year-old PhD girl, whatever, as a result of that backlash, she is now adding new things that are a lot more undeniably unprofessional to put in the story that might not have happened to, I guess, justify herself a bit more and make herself seem less delusional, because clearly she despises being called delusional. But I think that would be unfair for me to immediately disbelieve that aspect of the story and just sort of pick and choose what bits of her story I believe because it lines up with my view of her as a person. So we'll choose to believe this, and yeah, that's really weird. I would assume because she's 75 years old, that might skew her perception of social media, and she might not realize how unprofessional it is, but that doesn't change how unprofessional it is. I don't think it's a huge deal, though, and I don't think it changes much about the story. It's like if there was a murder case, and the murderer went to the judge and was like, look, mate, I know I've done, like, a bad thing here, but, to be fair, the bloke did, like, rub butter on the toast and then put the knife back into the butter bowl without, you know, scrubbing it or anything, so then them crumbs were in the butter. The judge would be like, you know what, mate, fair play, that is fucking annoying, but, like, what you've done is still horrible. It doesn't make it any better, really.
That was jarring. That was jarring and awful. So I added that to the list of things to talk about with psychiatrist, and I showed up to my final session just so ready. And I sit in the lobby, and he comes out, and oof, he's ice cold, because he let me in a little too much the session before. He knew that he turned the intimacy up a little too much, so his wall was way up. And it was up for the majority of the first, 10 minutes of the session. Before I get into how the final session went, I just want to let everyone know that I am sending love and good vibes to all of the people who have been bullying me, who have been doxing me, who have been stalking me.
Shut up. I fucking hate when influencers do this shit where it's like, to all the people who hate me, who want me to die, I just wish you the best and I'm sending you love because you're just my biggest supporters. It's like, fuck off. Why? You hate that. You hate it. It's clear as fucking day. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to not be okay with being fucking doxed by people. You don't need to do this sort of faux, impressionable, maybe in your mind, likable version of talking to said people. Look, to all the people that doxed me, I actually fucking I would suck you off if you were in front of me right now because I just fucking love being doxed. It's okay to fucking despise those people. If anything, it's natural to despise those people. Remember that video? It was like part 7 or something in the last video that we covered on this girl when she was receiving all that shit. People calling her delusional, people like poking holes in the story or whatever, saying that part of it might have been her fault, bringing up the race of the person or whatever, showing how she might, is not as innocent as she thinks, how fucking pissed off she was. She was sat in her car with the turtle shell glasses, probably outside a fucking Waffle House from what we know about it, and yelling into the microphone, not in an appealing way, but a really angry, unappealing way. Struggle to believe that the same person who made that video is now sending love to the people who don't necessarily love her story for the reasons that she wants them to.
Kendra and I are on the same med dose, so since the live replay is out there, I'll just say that I'm on 10 milligrams of Vyvanse. Even though I'm 6'2" and over 200 pounds, it's definitely still more than enough. One time I took a double dose and it was the worst day. So all that being said, sometimes it still affects me a little too much. If I'll take my meds and then have coffee, my blood pressure can sometimes elevate. So I started by telling him, I said I went to the dentist and they took my blood pressure and it was 144/78. Is that normal? This man, my doctor, who manages meds and is very good at his job, looked at me and said, well, that's not good. I was like, okay. Next thing on the list, I guess.
What the fuck is this explanation of the event that took place here? It's the most boring story. See, this is where I think that part, it's not made up, because you'd think of something more exciting than this. But why are you acting as though, something horrible happened here, or something outside the ordinary happened? You said to your psychiatrist, hey, this happens to me, is it normal? And your psychiatrist went, nah, it's not normal, it's not good. And you're sat there oh, all right then, mate, all right, I guess we'll just move on then. What answer were you expecting? What did you want him to say, you mug? What other response could he possibly have given that made you happy? You said, is it normal? He said no. That should be it, really. There's no need for the sass here.
And I told him I was going to go to Europe soon and that it was going to be right in the middle of my refill time. And I asked him, how do I get more meds? And he was like, I'll take care of that. So then he kind of liked being useful, so that kind of warmed him up a little bit.
No, that's just his fucking job as a psychiatrist. He provides the meds. How can you possibly derive any insidious or nefarious, inquisitive nature from him just because he said, I'll provide you with the fucking meds? It's a psychiatrist. Hey, you know the pharmacist behind the desk who handed you the packet of paracetamol because you said that your fucking dick was in pain? Yeah, well, guess what? There was actually an air of manipulation behind that passing of the paracetamol. It's all because they actually enjoy being useful and wanted to feed off of your energy. They just wanted to suck the happy and relieving emotions from you from receiving the paracetamol so that they could wank off to it later and not have to engage in a real relationship. I'll tell you what though, this woman has a talent for telling
After a few days off, Roblox has finally released another statement, and it's bad again, and they've also done a whole lot of other strange things too. First, let's talk about an interesting new update Roblox made to games that they ban or place under review that had a lot of people confused. I was alerted to the infamous game Robloxian High School apparently being completely deleted from the website yesterday. If you don't know that game, then all you really need to know is that it had a custom avatar editor very similar to Meep Cities that has also been highly abused for many years. RHS was in its fair share of controversies, including completely removing moderation and unbanning everyone a while back, but it didn't see as many issues as Meep City did. Anyway, something really strange happened yesterday as the game completely disappeared from the website, and I mean completely. If you went to the group and clicked on the game, or went to the Roblox wiki and clicked on it there, you'd always be met with an error page. Robloxian High School had been completely delisted from the Roblox website, which is something I had never seen or even heard of before. I began looking into it, and that's when I learned that Roblox is now delisting games that are placed under review or made unavailable permanently. If you go to any of Teddy's games or any other games that you know are under review or banned, you'll find that you can't visit their landing pages anymore. Previously, you could go see the game in its closed state and whether or not Roblox was looking into it or banned it, but now you're just sent to an error page. This has received mixed reviews, with some seeing it as kinda shady from Roblox and others seeing it as good to hide potentially bad games. Some think Roblox is doing this to hide the fact that there are violative and disgusting games they've had to shut down or are currently investigating. Obviously, Roblox probably does not want parents or outsiders to search for these games' existence, so what better way to hide them than to completely delist them? That could be a part of this, and that would be a little shady, but this change also has big positives that I believe make this more of a plus than a negative. Throughout the years, a lot of inappropriate games that get closed would not have their devs banned, giving the devs the opportunity to update the game. What they'd often do is just link a new game in the description, easily directing their player bases to a re-upload of the same problematic game. I somehow don't have many examples of this, but this one here is what that front page condo game from a couple months ago did right after Roblox took it down. This update prevents stuff like this from happening and makes it harder to find the creator's other stuff, which is a massive plus that I think outweighs any questionable motives. You could definitely make the argument that deleting the creators along with the games would solve that issue though, and realistically that's what Roblox should do. Roblox's rep hasn't gotten much better though, with two notable streamers, Hassan and Asmongold, both covering Roblox's safety issues, Asmongold especially. These are two guys I don't watch at all, and to be honest, I don't watch anything remotely similar, but I do understand their influence on different parts of the streaming community. Them and so many other large creators covering this are introducing so many people to Roblox's safety issues, only further pressuring Roblox to do more. Asmongold's stream was very notable because he spent an hour in Roblox and found so much inappropriate stuff live in front of a massive audience.
And then you have like this girl that's like some like goth girl, like
Stuff like that is making people aware of Roblox's insane safety problems and scared of it, which is good because, like I said, it'll pressure Roblox to do more, hopefully. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Asmongold's stream led to Roblox taking action against Meep City with how many Roblox outsiders would have seen it. It really sucks to see stuff like this be so easily discoverable for anyone, especially a first-time player like Asmongold, because if it happens to him, it can happen to anyone. Congressman Ro Khanna also shared an update on his petition, which is almost at 100,000 signatures now, so if you're in the States, I highly suggest you join it. Roblox also content deleted the name of the infamous Free Predator t-shirt, which was created all the way back in May 2007. Last week, Roblox moderation seemingly terminated their own CEO, and now they've moderated one of their own clothing items that's nearly 20 years old. Free Predator has gotten a lot of attention recently over Roblox's defense of predators, with many pointing to this being a sign they've liked predators for all this time. While I can understand why people think that, all it references is the type of predator that eats things like a lion or whatever, and Sharkblocks made a good vid going over its history. Nonetheless, Roblox moderation still content deleted its name and description for whatever reason a few days ago, and it still hasn't been fixed. I'm going to assume this is from DSA report abuse because I can't really see Roblox intentionally removing the name to avoid backlash while leaving the shirt up. This isn't a big deal or anything like that, just a somewhat peculiar incident involving one of the most infamous Roblox-made assets in their history. And now we've got Roblox's latest response to go over, and you could seriously make a case for it being the worst one yet. Roblox has octupled down and has now responded directly to Schlepp's ban in a statement given to NBC5 Chicago. Taking the law into your hands isn't safe in the real world, and it's not safe online. That's why we work with law enforcement to hold bad actors accountable. Many experts agree independent actors impersonating others and luring users to other platforms for sexually explicit conversations can never be safe. Believe it or not, Roblox, the company who keeps putting out responses that create extreme PR backlash, actually octupled down and said that of all things. This statement is so horrendous that Roblox should be sending themselves a cease and desist by their logic, so let's pick it apart to see why that is. The first sentence, taking the law into your own hands, is not what Schlepp does, because if Roblox somehow hasn't realized, Schlepp isn't laying down the law upon predators. He isn't the one arresting them, he isn't beating them up or anything like that, so how is he the one taking the law into his own hands? If Schlepp did that, or was doing any of this entrapment stuff Roblox has said in the past, the predators he caught would have been let off free long ago. Here's a screenshot of Schlepp literally working with law enforcement to get a predator arrested, not arresting the predator himself for taking the law into his own hands. The first sentence is already easily disprovable, and shows Roblox doesn't know what they're talking about or are making things up. Roblox then says they work with law enforcement because taking the law into your own hands isn't safe in the real world, and it's not safe online. That is correct. Roblox just said they do the exact same thing Schlepp does by working with law enforcement and not taking the law into their own hands. Roblox defended banning Schlepp from their platform by stating that they practically do the exact same thing as him. Because both Schlepp and Roblox don't take their law into their own hands and work with law enforcement to get predators arrested, will Roblox send themselves a cease and desist? Does Roblox admitting to working with law enforcement the same way Schlepp does mean they're taking the law into their own hands? Roblox is either saying they're partially guilty of what they're mad at Schlepp for, or they're saying Schlepp is working with the cops correctly and they banned him in part for it. The rest of the statement is nonsense too, and I'm not going to go over it because we already know Schlepp doesn't lure people onto other platforms or talk crazy with them. We also don't really need to go over the reactions because we can all figure out how a sensible person would feel about Roblox's statement here. It's quite funny how Roblox hasn't put out a positively received response that didn't get at least partially, if not fully disproved immediately upon release. It's also not surprising that they can't put out an extremely flawed statement because they unjustly banned Schlepp and made a big mistake outlawing vigilantes. What Roblox needs to do for the betterment of users and the company is fix those mistakes by unbanning Schlep and taking serious, strict action to remove bad users and content. Roblox might never outlive this situation, but they can do their best to stop it from getting worse for them by listening to the masses. I have no idea if they'll do that, but they definitely should because the general public is turning against them, not just the Roblox community. We'll probably have more to talk about in regards to this case, so keep an eye out for that, and also go watch Schlep's new response to Roblox. I genuinely cannot believe what I'm seeing from Roblox because everything they're doing seems so illogical and so backwards and it all makes no sense. For whatever reason, Roblox is continuously shooting themselves in the foot with poor responses and acting against Schlep supporters. They're making new enemies by the second, from players and parents to big social media influencers and even politicians. A ton has happened, so I'm gonna try to simply go over a lot of it and give my thoughts on the more major stuff, which there is a lot of. Early yesterday, Creekcraft revealed that a US congressman named Ro Khanna had reached out to him and Schlep regarding Roblox's child safety and moderation concerns. A congressman is a pretty important and high-up figure in the American political ranks, and this one happened to join the fight for a safer Roblox. Ro Khanna released a video statement saying Roblox isn't doing enough to protect kids, inform parents, and confront predators, and released a petition to combat that. If you're American, you can sign his petition, which he says will push Roblox to do more to protect kids, prosecute predators, and even give creators and devs a seat at the table. If I was American, I'd sign it, but I'm not, so I can't. But you still can if you live in the States, so it'll be linked below if you want to join his cause. Multiple Schlep tribute games got taken down by Roblox, including one while Creekcraft was streaming in it, adding onto the one by Donator26DF from a couple days ago. These games did not immediately appear to violate the terms of service, yet Roblox took swift action against them faster than they do with many dangerous games. It's currently not known why these latest ones were taken down, but it's pretty safe to assume it has to do with it supporting Schlep, based on more stuff we'll go over soon. Roblox's Chief Safety Officer Matt Kaufman released a follow-up statement to his original post that has made the backlash extremely worse. The third line of Matt Kaufman's statement unbelievably compares so-called vigilantes to predators because they act the same, according to him. Roblox's Chief Safety Officer thinks predator catchers are so bad that he's willing to compare them to actual predators as a way to justify Roblox's actions against them. Newsflash, genius, of course predator catchers are going to impersonate minors because what imbecile would put an actual child in harm's way? That is such a faulty point, and so are his other ones, because it's always the predator approaching the decoy, and the decoy does not ever talk disgustingly. The reason Schlep and other predator catchers are so effective is because they don't talk crazy to the predators, as that count as entrapment and could let them get off free. Most of these predators are also found on Discord. In condo servers, Roblox has the ability to take down and has done before, but for whatever reason, hasn't with many. In several cases, the predator was not taken off Roblox, they were found on other platforms, and in cases where they are taken off Roblox, they're the ones initiating it. There is a reason Schlep's cases end up in arrests, and that's because they're doing it the right and lawful way, without endangering kids or anyone not involved. It's so sadly inappropriate and ignorant to compare predator catchers to predators in this way, and it just happens to be maybe Roblox's #1 safety leader saying it. The rest of his response is a lot of the same, including hilariously telling people to report via Roblox reports so they can investigate quickly and effectively. Yeah, if they investigate so quickly and effectively, why is Meep City still up after I've reported it so many times over the last 8 years? Creekcraft would respond by doing a live check-in on Meep City where it took him a total of 3 seconds to see a male body part walking around the spawn. Kaufman also states that Roblox doesn't provide updates on your reports over privacy considerations. But privacy considerations for who? Do you not want us to know why our reports on bad content and bad actors are going unanswered, or are you trying to protect their privacy? So many other games and platforms like Instagram and Twitter both do that, so why doesn't Roblox? Roblox tweeted out Matt Kaufman's second post and got promptly ratioed by a ton of people, including big non-Roblox social media figures, and then got community noted. I woke up this morning to see KreekCraft setting the tone by leaving the STAR program for multiple reasons, but with what's happening playing a key factor. He said it was the right thing to do, citing safety issues and Roblox not listening to the community for a long time, not just because of what happened with Schlep. While KreekCraft is already huge and has plenty of money, leaving the STAR program cuts off his STAR creator benefits and sends a crazy message to Roblox. Their, I think, largest STAR creator just ended his partnership with them because they did not do enough to listen to the community and keep their platform safe. Now, former STAR creator Cubink posted a vid of him leaving the program, which showed the group having 603 members, and now it's below that, so others have left too. Multiple users began reporting that Roblox warned them for having their display names set to Free Schlep or being moderated for saying hashtag Free Schlep in game. According to the mod notes regarding the display names, they all just say this display name is not permitted on Roblox without any further details. The in-game chat warnings don't provide a whole lot of details either, other than that saying Free Schlep or hashtag Free Schlep could get your chat capabilities suspended. The account with the username FreeSchlep also had its username reset and appears to have been terminated by Roblox too. It does not appear that they've done a moderation wave on FreeSchlep display names yet, but it's possible, so be careful if you're gonna name yourself that. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill announced that she's suing Roblox over a lack of safety protocols and prioritizing user growth, revenue, and profits over child safety. This is absolutely massive news because this basically means that the state of Louisiana is officially suing Roblox, as Liz Murrill represents the state in legal matters. She went off on Roblox on her Twitter, mentioning several instances of dangerous and inappropriate activity from both users and Roblox. This will reach parents of Roblox players in Louisiana and may take this whole story national in the States if it isn't already at that point. Roblox will have to respond to this, and who knows how it could go, especially since Liz and team appear to know about the games like public bathroom sims that aren't taken down. Also, Liz Murrill is a Republican, so in just over 24 hours, major figures in the Democratic and Republican parties have pressed Roblox over safety concerns. Roblox's moderation and safety problems are so bad that they've got people from both the left and the right agreeing on a cause. Then, to top things off, Roblox began removing a bunch of Schlep-related UGC items, including ones not related to the hashtag FreeSchlep movement. The very scary part about all this is that this ban wave isn't only relating to hashtag FreeSchlep items that Roblox may want to silence because it's a form of protest. Roblox has retroactively deleted random Schlep-themed items that were made way before any of this happened, showing they are trying to erase anything relating to him. Clearly, these are old fan-made items that are not any kind of threat to user safety, yet Roblox is retroactively going after them to seemingly eliminate any mention of Schlep they can. During the creation of this vid, it was also revealed that Schlep and Ruben Sim are involved in some form of legal situation with Roblox. I don't know exactly what's going on here, but whatever it may be, I wish Ruben and Schlep nothing but the best. Also, the legendary Chris Hansen of the To Catch a Predator series is working on a documentary about Roblox's safety issues and wants Schlep to be in it. This guy is an icon in the crime fighting scene, as many of you know, with his program resulting in approximately 200 indictments and 120 convictions. What we are witnessing here appears to be cataclysmic self-destruction from Roblox that they don't even realize they're committing. They are continuously digging a bigger and bigger hole for themselves, and they seemingly aren't stopping, and I can't figure out why. It's so obvious that they're making a massive mistake. They're getting absolutely ripped apart for it, and they're continuing with their efforts to punish Schlep and so-called vigilantes. They haven't just stopped and not undone their mistakes. They're doubling and tripling down and continuing to moderate Schlep supporters. Is this one of those humiliation rituals conspiracy folks talk about? Because I genuinely cannot make sense of why Roblox is still fighting with all that's being done to them. Roblox is proving to us live that they're taking stricter action against a predator catcher, his supporters, and so-called vigilantes over dangerous users and safety problems. Meep City is still up. Bathroom simulators can still be searched and easily played. XYZ Hangouts haven't been taken down. And the list goes on and on and on. Kaneko Kitten is still up. Nathorix is still up. Aloha Vix, aka Aloha Jovi, actively uses the site. iZazel is currently online, and Teddy's probable alts still run re-uploads of his games. There are so many inappropriate avatar items and games and users and all that, yet Roblox is out here taking strict, quick, and effective action on vigilantes and their supporters. I'm glad the general public has woken up to the safety problems we've talked about for over half a decade, but I hate it had to go down this way. I don't know what's happening at Roblox, but this Matt Kaufman guy, by the looks of it, and I'm not confirming anything, but he appears to be doing a poor job. The fact that he compared predator catchers to predators themselves as the chief safety officer for Roblox is horrifying and puts everything about Roblox safety into question. If you can't tell, I'm kind of at a loss for words here, and I'm obviously not too happy with how Roblox has and is handling safety and moderation. Instead of taking stronger action to make their platform safer, they're taking insanely strict action against someone trying to make their platform safer. We have politicians on both sides. We have influencers from all corners of the internet. We have news outlets, at least most of them, and real people telling Roblox to be safer. Unfortunately, it appears that they're more interested in silencing critics and, like Liz Merle said, prioritizing profits over child safety. I've still got a lot more to say, and I know more will come out about this, and you'll probably hear about it soon, so keep an eye out for more regarding the Schlep situation.